All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is called to order at 7 p.m. Welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake Board of Zoning Appeals public meeting for October 2021. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Wilkening?
Here.
Mr. Kapora?
Present.
Mr. Bungie?
Here.
Mr. Cupido?
Here.
Ms. Murr? Present. Mr. Austin?
Present.
Ms. Abernathy? Present.
All right, thank you. Regarding the minutes from August 12th, 2021 and September 9th, 2021, do we have any additions, corrections? Everything look good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Taking a motion to approve both sets of minutes?
So moved.
All right.
I'll second it.
All right, motion by John, seconded by Jerry. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. First item of old business is Starcevich, developmental variance, owner petitioner Tom Starcevich, 5706 North Rockwell in Chicago, Illinois, 60659. The property being in the vicinity of 7615 West 142nd Avenue. Developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to have a front yard setback of 8 feet off of 142nd Avenue and a rear yard setback of 8 feet. And also a second developmental variance request is to allow the petitioner to construct a 1,862 square foot garage with a second floor of 1,569 square feet, a total size of 3,431 square feet. First floor wall height of 12 feet 10 inches and a height of 28 foot 8 inches in a front yard. Mr. Austin, are legals in order?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Petitioner for this item, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, my name is Tom Starcevich, 5706 North Rockwell, Chicago. Calling for a petition to have a front yard setback of 8 feet on 142nd, rear yard setback of 8 feet, and the development variance to construct an 1,800 square foot garage on the second floor at 1,500 square feet. Wall heights of 1210 and a total of 28 feet.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Murr?
If you look in your packet, there is a layout of the plat showing the 8-foot setback he's requiring and the proposed garage. One of the things you had asked for at your last meeting when this was deferred was a layout of where the garage was laying in the plat. And then I highlighted where the setbacks are that he's requesting.
Okay.
Right there.
All right. Has anything changed with your request since last month?
Well, I'm willing to make some changes to my request, as I've seemed to be receiving feedback that people aren't too warm on the height of this structure. We're willing to make some compromise there in order to reduce the height size of the structure to appease the town as well as my neighbors. I've spoken to my neighbors who would come up here to object to this, to the height of the garage as one of their concerns, and I'm willing to compromise and lower that height structure in order to make this a little more appealing to both my neighbors and to the town.
Okay. And I understand that you're working with the Plan Commission too to get some loose ends tied up. Where exactly are you at on that?
I think we've addressed most of the concerns that were there. I think there may be an item remaining, but I was told that item was for the BZA meeting next week. Is that correct for the?
Yeah, well, we're at the BZA.
Oh, sorry. This was for next week's meeting, I was told, but our surveyor is working on answering the remaining concerns.
his surveyor and our engineer are going back and forth with their comments.
Is this the green leaf item?
Yes.
Okay.
142nd Greenleaf.
No, I meant the issue at the planning commission, that outstanding.
That's one of the items.
Okay.
Another one is the sewer easement, along the lake. But laying out his plat, one of them is, if the variances are approved this evening, then they would be laid out on that plat that the planning commission will.
Okay. Jerry, can you fill me in on, what's going on with this Greenleaf? Is it gonna affect this variance request?
As you can see on that print there, the blacktop for green leaf is not exactly square.
Mm-hmm.
And I know our engineer and Mr. Starcevic have discussed the spacing, the easement. First it was 12, I think it's down to 10 now. Is that what?
Correct, that was the reply was down to 10. We have not replied back to the engineer yet.
Oh, Don's asking for 10.
Yes,
Okay.
now they're asking for 10. At first it was 12, and I think we're still in that compromising stage.
Okay. And that's on Greenleaf, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And the sewer easement is where?
Along the lake.
Along the lake? Oh, okay, I see it. Thank you.
So I think that's the only two things that are kind of hanging out there still
Okay.
at the planning commission.
Okay.
And Jill has this broken down into two pieces here.
Okay, I've seen that, yeah. Board have any questions for the petitioner right now?
No, sir.
What was the compromise as far as the height?
Well, we're looking to reduce it from, our request originally was 28.8. We're looking to drop that down to 22.8. It's not ideal what we're looking for, but we can certainly work within, we can make it work within those parameters, as it seems like that would be a more appealing height to the neighbors and to the town.
But you still want a 12-foot first floor wall height,
Yes,
actually almost 11?
correct. So we can park a pontoon and a boat inside that garage, along with a lot of other items that I have.
Is that gonna mean oversized doors?
9-foot doors on Greenleaf and a 8-foot door on the backyard side, entering into the yard.
Is that square foot staying the same at 3431?
No, it would be reduced, I'm not exactly sure by the exact number that it would be reduced by, because we will lose a majority of the second floor due to pitch on the roof. So we're gonna lose a majority of that second floor square footage.
We don't know that number, Jill?
Yeah.
Is the overall size of the building staying the same though? The 36
The foot- the
by
foot-
44?
the footprint.
The footprint's staying the same though.
Is this the first you've heard of the heights being changed?
Yes.
Okay, right.
Footprint shouldn't change because of the height.
Yeah, but I was looking for a number of the overall square footage.
Okay.
Well, the square footage would stay the same.
Not when you add the second story.
But the square footage of the floor itself is staying the same.
I think you're referring to the actual space, not just the footprint.
Combination.
First and second floor
second.
combined. 'Cause
You're right, Nick.
You see shrinking down the second floor, correct? So we were looking for a square footage on that second floor to be in that shrunken, but this is new to you, what you're hearing right now, so.
But if the square footage is the Same thing, the only thing changes by shrinking the second story is the cubic feet.
Correct,
Well,
not the square footage of the floor.
I thought you
Well, the second floor would change the square footage of it because of the pitch of the roof is not gonna allow us to have a full 8-foot ceiling on the second floor. By bringing the whole structure down, we're reducing the majority of the second floor space. But
Yeah.
we're
the
willing
cubic feet
to.
though, but the flat surface would remain the same.
You're still sheeting the whole second floor, right? It's gonna be a full floor in there?
Yes.
We don't need walls or anything.
Right, okay. All right, sir, can you have a quick speech, please? Are there any remonstrators for or against this variance out there? Can you please step up, ma'am? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Linda Mason. I live at 7604 West 142nd Avenue. My house is directly north of the property that Mr. Starcevic wants to build on. I did speak to Mr. Starcevic earlier in regards to this again, with what he just brought to your attention. I'm willing to work with him. The biggest concern is my neighbors that are here with me. It's the flooding issue. Mr. Starcevic has already raised that property in anticipation of his big, beautiful garage, which now lately, with all the rain we've had, is rolling. It rolls the way 142nd is, and when they did that road, the water just rolls right off of it. It's flooding my yard, it's flooding my neighbor's yard. And that's the biggest concern, is the flooding issue. Because I'm sure when he builds his beautiful garage, it's going to flood even more. I'm sure he'll have to raise it even more. So that's a big issue there. I don't know if that's with his situation, if it's a town situation.
Actually, after we get done with the rest of the remonstrators, I'll ask that to the plan commission. So
Okay.
That might be a plan commission matter.
I mean, this is something that I have to look out my front door at. And it's already almost 3 times bigger than any house that's in the Wilson subdivision as a big, beautiful garage. And 28 feet tall.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you. Are there any other remonstrators for or against the variance out there? Please step on up. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Sigmund Kill. My address is 14225 Lakeshore Drive. I live I own the property across the street and next to it. I don't have any problem at all with it, and I don't know where the water comes from, because he's on top of the hill and it goes all down to the lake. When I heard that, I just can't understand it. You know, how can you have water when he's at the top of the hill and it goes right all down the lake?
I'd be happy to show you pictures. I haven't.
Well, it's coming down the street from not his property. His property is vacant, and if it's flooding it, how can vacant property flood something?
You originally started the flooding.
You know, when they put the streets in, a few years ago. That's the one subdivision they did no sewer, no nothing to. They just threw the street down, no curbs. Everybody else, they put curbs, sewers, everything else in. When they did 142nd, they didn't do nothing. They just threw the pavement down, and they did a terrible job. And it all
Raising your own
all
property.
slopes in.
Ma'am, please give them.
It all slopes the wrong way. As far as it is, when he built it, he just burned the whole down the street and directed all straight to the lake, the property. That's what I would recommend, that's all. So, other than that, I don't see a problem. The house next door he's got is over $1.5 million. And the house he's gonna build is gonna be over $1 million. And he doesn't want all the stuff laying out in front of his, the garage and stuff like, and I know he's got a boat, 4 jet skis, 2 golf carts, he's got all kinds of stuff. It's just, he definitely needs a place to put it.
All right, thank you, sir, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Do we have any other remonstrators for or against the variance in attendance? Ma'am, please step on up. Also state your name and address for the record.
My name is Sandra Heron, 14125 Lakeshore Drive. The street that he's talking about, I can tell you why that was put down that way. We were desperate to have a street fixed, and the town had left over, when they were done with one of their final projects, that's how we got our street taken care of. Meanwhile, there's a swatch coming off of his, where are you? Some property. And when it rains, it comes down my way. Goes into their yard, into my back drive, and into my garage. We never had that before. And that is my statement.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any other remonstrators for or against this variance? Ma'am, please step on up. And also state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Karen Kill. My address is 14225 Lakeshore Drive. And I just want to say that I am all for his building of the garage, and it's going to beautify the neighborhood, and he owns a lot of toys. So I rather look at the big, beautiful garage than all the boats and jet skis and everything else he has. And as far as the flooding goes and that, I'm not aware of any of it. We have a rental house across the street, and I don't see any water.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have anyone else in attendance for or against? Name and address, please.
Don Watkins at 7509 West 142nd, and I think he should be allowed to do it if he's going to put the berm in like he says he is.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have any other remonstrators here in attendance for or against the variance? Jill, do you have anything online?
Do not.
Okay. Public portion is closed.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had one email that you had received.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Elizabeth Rosenak.
Okay, do you mind, I can read that for the record. Thank you. We have a letter here dated Wednesday, October 18th, 2021, sent to Ms. Murray, and it is from Elizabeth Rosenak, and letter states, "Hi Jill, hope this email finds you well. My husband Craig Wenger and I are writing to confirm our support for Tom Starsevic's appeal to build the garage to the specs outlined in the notice of public hearing letter sent to our residents. We're their direct neighbors, address 14208 Greenleaf Place. Feel the structure will enhance the look of the neighborhood. Please let me know if you have any additional information regarding our support. If any additional information regarding our support would be helpful. Thank you, Elizabeth." Any other letters, Joe? That's it.
No, one had been previously provided by Mrs. Hill, but she was also here this evening.
Okay. Public portions closed. Mr. Starcevic, can you please step on it back up? Jill, do you have anything else from the building department? Can you elaborate on any of these potential water issues, or if this is something that's being considered by the planning commission?
No, additional, obviously every lot in older subdivisions, when I come in for the building permit, is looked at, and your town engineer is looking at the plat process, so any of that would be looked at as an overall bigger picture and impact once we actually have plans and a building permit in place for a structure.
Okay, so if a variance was granted, this building was given approval by us, it would go through the engineering process to see if this would work and not negatively impact any of the neighbors?
Yes, anything in the pre-plat, in the older subdivisions definitely goes in front of our engineer.
Okay. What happens if, say, the engineer says this can't work, there's no way they can make this work? You know, there's going to be an impact here that's not going to be good for the neighbors to, I mean.
We have had the occasion where a permit has been denied before because of a negative impact.
Okay. And council, how would that affect the actual variance that was granted?
Well, will you be able to certify under 918.5, so 2, that the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner? That's their burden, and it's your responsibility, you're making a decision to certify.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. So, especially without an engineer being present, that's difficult for us to determine. Hold on 1 second here. That's difficult for us to determine right now. That's in our findings.
When you're making an approval on a developmental variance, if that's the direction you had, it's a decision by this board.
Mhm.
And those requirements for you are the standard by which you make your decisions.
Okay.
They have to meet the burden, and you have to recognize it in your rule.
Okay. Don, Jerry, can you guys give me any?
What Mr. Kill had mentioned is true. The road is, not the best.
Mm-hmm.
But make no mistake, anything Mr. Starcevich does here can't exacerbate a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's picked up at the site plan, the as-built, engineering, inspection, all those things. And if he had to put a drain in back there to run the water toward the lake, that's what he would have to do,
Okay.
hypothetically. So the water issue that exists, if it exists, certainly can't be made any worse by this gentleman.
Correct. So I have to bring up something because one of the remonstrators mentioned building a new house. Are you planning on building a new house on this property?
Not currently.
Okay. And they mentioned a berm.
I may in 5 years from now, but I currently have no plans of building anything different than where I'm at today.
Okay, and a berm, someone had mentioned a berm.
So we have planted hydrangeas, and we built a flower bed berm that runs along 142nd Street, pretty much from mailboxes to where the hill goes down. We've built a berm on that flower bed to try to mitigate water issues. We didn't necessarily feel that we had a water issue, but being that there was neighborly concern, we thought that at least this would be a step towards mitigating that if it was something that was within our control.
I think, Mr. Starcevic, as I push for that first deferral, and I told you that I like people being able to put their stuff away. I really, really do. I think the issue with everyone up here is the overall size. I think that's where the hang-up is. It's a lot for right there. And keep in mind, if this was approved and you wanted to build a big house there, I believe it's against federal law. You create a hardship with one variance and you come back for another variance, it's self-imposed, it's a problem. So I just want to share that with you based on the new house discussion. So,
like lot coverage issues, setback issues.
Yeah.
If you came, like Jerry said, if you came back in a week or 5 years from now and asked for a variance on that new house, it's going to be hard for us to justify that if you created an issue with the.
Okay.
So just so you know, full transparency.
Gotcha.
We have to go back in the history quite a ways to find some of these, but they exist here in town.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got the same concerns that I had last month. You've got 2 variances here you're requesting and 7 measurements, I guess, for lack of a better word, that don't fit the variance, or that don't fit the ordinance, that are in excess of what the ordinance requires, and I'm having a hard time with that. And like I said last month, just the sheer size of it. I'm glad you came down on the height, but the height, I mean, you're talking
That will reduce, that'll
1,900 square foot
significantly
garage.
reduce the overall square footage size of the building. With the reduction in height, the second floor becomes fairly useless. So we can't, I don't think it's proper to even count any of the square footage in that, because it's going to be pitched and it's not going to be of height to be able to use it as a proper storage. You know, it's not going to have 8-foot ceilings. Or the one spot that it will have 8-foot ceilings is right in the peak, right in the middle, but then that doesn't give me much option to store anything on it. So I think that the second floor, we lose pretty much all of that square footage of that 1,500 square foot. We lose that. So really our square footage, if we're adding it for the first floor and keeping the same footprint, we're looking at an 1,800 square foot. So we're not asking for 37, and thus we feel that we're trying to be amicable here. We're trying to appease the town, and you know, we did go back to our neighbors. I did go and talk with Linda to try to come to an amicable agreement here that works to get all of our stuff indoors and yet keep an aesthetically appealing block. We're looking to add details to the garage so that it doesn't just look like a square plain garage. We're trying to dress it up. We're trying to dress it up with our landscaping as well. Being in consideration that our house next door is a $1.5 million house at 7,000 square foot with no grass on their place, with an entire driveway that must have gone through many variances to achieve. We feel that our place is going to enhance the neighborhood. It is going to help bring property value up, and even if it is going to be a little larger than some of the homes that are there. But we also have homes that are on our block that are a very small square footage, that were at one time cottages that became homes. And so we feel that we're improving the neighborhood, and we're certainly trying to work with our neighbors in order to achieve an amicable decision, to work for everyone that's going to be affected by this.
Understood. And I don't doubt that, you know, this is going to be some sort of improvement, but fact is that a garage built to our zoning ordinance will be an improvement too, would you not say?
It would.
So we have to look at, as Mr. Austin stated, we have to look at our, I don't recall the exact statute name, but we have our checklist that this has to meet, you know, in order for this to get approved. The findings of fact. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. We've got one, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. I would say you're okay on that. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. And the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance as amended from time to time will result in practical difficulties in the use of property. I'm having a hard time with checking off those last two. If your neighbors are going to have any type of flooding issues above and beyond what they have now, then we can make a case that it has, you know, adversely affected them. And I believe that if you were to just follow the ordinance with this building, that you could still use the property as the property is zoned, as the ordinance states. So that is my opinion on this. I mean, we have people come in here all the time and say, well, I want my stuff inside. Well, I have to rent a 2,400 square foot building to store my stuff, because I'm not going to come in here and ask the BZA to put up a 2,400 square foot building on my property. It's just a fact. Unfortunately, we can't all fit our stuff on our property. And no matter how much I would like to, it's just not possible for everybody.
Well, we're asking for something that has not been, you know, this is not the first time somebody's come in here and asked for a garage that's oversized. There's many oversized garages around the lake, and so we're not asking for something that is unique to the town. We are asking for something that's larger than what's in the current that's within the current zoning, but we are trying to fit within the box so that we don't have issues of having things in our backyard. We have a very large plot, unfortunately, it is on a corner lot, which has restricted some of our building capabilities, but that's what this board is here for, to achieve an amicable answer of how to improve our town.
Well, and we have to follow these findings of fact, and that's where I'm getting hung up on. Regardless of what happened in the past many years ago, we take things on a case-by-case basis.
As Jerry had mentioned, our building of this garage is not going to pose any additional hardship upon any of my neighbors in any fashion. Anything that's existing there is already existing, and our building is not going to affect their...
What I said was, if your building is built, it cannot create any hardships for your neighbors.
Okay.
It's all done at the building department.
And we look to follow that. We don't look to create any hardship. If there is a water issue that arises, we would certainly be willing to address it. As I even explained to my neighbors who are opposed to this garage, we're willing to work with them, with our, to change our property if we need to additionally berm things to help mitigate water movement. We're willing to do that. So I think that if we get the approval to build the garage, if there's a water issue that comes up where the town, upon inspection of the property and such, says, hey, this is an issue, we would be willing to address it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you don't have the kind of space some of your neighbors to the south do, which makes this so complicated. You have a pontoon boat and
I have
jet skis.
I have 4 jet skis, a pontoon boat. I have a Mastercraft ski boat. I've got 2 golf carts. I've got a riding mower and 3 push mowers. I have 2 kayaks. I have multiple air mattresses and toys that we pull the kids around in the water. I've got bicycles. I've got a 3-wheel bicycle. I have an attachment to my 4-wheeler that I can grade my land with. I also have 4 lifts for my jet skis. I have lifts for all my boats. I have a 120-foot dock. I also have 2 trucks. I have a trailer. I have a camper.
None of
and
this
I
is
have.
gonna fit inside that building. Not all
It's
this
not.
is inside
That's
the building.
What I'm getting,
President,
Yes, sir.
Joe, would you make sure that this all gets listed in the minutes? I was having trouble keeping up with all of the stuff.
And I have picture documentation if that helps my cause. But ultimately, we're trying to keep our stuff indoors, and we're certainly looking to be amicable. Obviously, there's a couple hang-ups here, but we're willing to work with the town and our neighbors. More importantly, our neighbors, as we want to be good neighbors, and we want to be able to be neighborly. I mean, part of living in a town as Cedar Lake is to be able to be neighborly and enjoy the lake.
what I was getting at, your intentions are to put any water toy with an engine in this building.
Yes, I will have a pontoon and I will have motorboat, I will have mechanical.
Everything with an engine that goes in the water will be in this building.
Yes. Yes, it will.
Does your current home have a garage?
No, it does not.
Does a home, hypothetical, if you were to build a home, would it have a garage?
Depending on, I guess, I would like it to.
Mm-hmm.
If I could, I would like to ultimately have a garage in my home. But I don't have one now, so, and if I were to have a garage that were on, in my backyard, then I would have no reason to build an additional garage space.
All right. Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I just look at the size of this thing, and I get it. We had a conversation last week, everybody loves to collect toys, but I just have a real hard time, just because you have toys, and, you know, I mean, we live on a lake, that you're gonna have, these are things that everybody wants to have. This is the dream, to live on the lake and have these things. But, you know, we're a unique situation is that, you know, there's so many neighbors and they're so close. And I know when I wake up in the morning, I wouldn't want to look out my window and see a 20 by 30 foot facade staring me in the face every day for the rest of my day, my life.
Good point. Ray?
I'm kind of the same, I just got a problem with the size pretty much, just because it's kind of way over a lot of the other things that we came across, so. And then not really knowing, like not having any new facts, like I know we're saying it's not gonna be as big, there won't be as much square foot. The height, you know, without really nailing down some of that stuff, I'm kind of in the dark world still.
Okay. Sorry, thanks, John. Too quiet.
Well, somebody else is talking. I did, I think the size is too big. My concern before was with that upstairs, that eventually it wind up into some type of a living quarters. With the reduction in the wall heights, you still have space up there, so you cannot discount that space by saying I won't be able to store anything up there. It's still, if it's not used at all, it's still space and has to be counted. Just with the 1,862 square feet on the main floor, you're 862 feet over, or almost twice, the size of the ordinance. Now, the first part of your request is the variance for a front yard setback and a rear yard setback. Well, we can't approve that variance, because if we do that, then we're saying their size building is okay. And we haven't decided if that size building is okay or not, so I don't see how we can even vote on variance for a front and backyard, not knowing what the actual size of the building is going to be, because if it's smaller, then those setbacks change. And so the big issue here is size, and I think it's way too big.
Fair enough.
For that property.
Gotcha. All right, the consensus here is that it seems to be that this is a hill too big to climb for us with this building. So, do you have any input on this, Dave, as far as what maybe he should
I don't think
request?
it's been defined on sub 3 of 918.5 about the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance resulting in practical difficulties in the use of the property. This is an R2 zone parcel. It's on beautiful Cedar Lake with a home on it already. A garage can be built on it within our zoning ordinance. Having a lot of stuff doesn't make it practically difficult to use the property.
And abide by the ordinance.
And abide by the ordinance. That, and thank you for being candid, I appreciate that. It's gonna be in our minutes, you know, the accumulation of things. But all of us know what a pontoon boat and a boat and, you know, the board jet skis.
Many of us know how much space that takes up.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
So,
Can I ask you a question? That these findings of fact, if we approve something like this and it doesn't meet all three of those items, does that put the town at a financial liability for any type of litigation?
potentially,
Okay.
demonstrators have a basis for filing a petition for judicial review. Yeah, I mean, potential always exists if the criteria are not met.
Okay.
Are not followed.
Okay.
You mentioned, you know, this has happened elsewhere. Well, every piece of real estate is unique. Every piece of real estate on our lake is unique. So yeah, there've been applications made and considerations given to other applications on other parcels. but they weren't this close in this location. These neighbors with this stormwater runoff, with this drainage scheme, with height and grading, you know, different. They're all different.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dave.
Mr. Starcevic, if this garage was 36 by 44 the other way, does that not work for you?
The problem that we would incur is then we would have to put our garage doors onto 142nd Street. And that would, I think that would create more hardship looking at garage doors than looking at the side of the building and having the side of the building dressed up.
We're not in the design business.
It's still the same size no matter which way it faces.
Yeah, but he need less variance. He wouldn't need so much property. He could move it longer to the lake, maybe. I don't know,
Yeah, like John said, we're still looking at the same building.
Yeah, we are.
You know?
We are.
There's actually, as we know, there's two items on this request. One being setbacks, which I believe that the setbacks are required based off the size of the garage. So I'm not sure that it would be wise to allow setbacks without allowing the garage. They've got to, I believe they have to go together. But do you have something to say on that?
Yeah, my understanding of the first item, Jill, Dave, anytime, jump in. This is basically the setback of kind of where the house is now, the existing. It has to be established or create a plaque, an official plaque. This first thing could be voted on hypothetically and approved, and it changes nothing for the second item, correct? Because of if the first item was voted on hypothetically and approved, a compliant garage could be built within those parameters,
Within that footprint,
within that footprint of the setbacks.
I think so.
So
I don't see it drawn out, but I think so.
this was where I've been real fuzzy about. Jill and I have talked about this a lot.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The house currently sits 12.5, 12.5 feet off of 142nd.
And that's about where the proposed new garage would be.
The proposed new garage would actually be 3 foot further in at the 15-foot mark. We were asking for the 12-foot variance so that we were just covered within a footprint. Our actual building size is approximately 3 foot shorter, making it a 15-foot setback in final.
Yeah.
Doesn't say that here, though.
Yeah.
Well, if we add up 44 and 8 and 12, gives us 64 on a 65-foot lot. So even though we're asking for a 12-foot on one side, 8-foot on the other side, that still leaves us a 45-foot span between our overall 65-foot length. So even though we're asking for the variance at 12-foot, we wanted to be able to ask for a few more feet in variance so that when we go to build our building, we know that we're within that space, within a couple feet.
We were asking for 8, but being built back at 12.
Yes,
15, we were leaving a couple.
we were leaving
there.
a couple feet, and that's what we discussed, to be able to have a few feet there if we needed it.
But if he gets 8 foot, he gets 8 foot, and he can do the 8 foot without, and that 12 foot can just go out the window, right, Dave? I mean, it's his request is 8 feet.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. I think when we act on, go ahead.
Mr. President, I just, back to the individual items being separate. If the first item was voted on and approved, based on what I've heard from our experts, it would allow him to get a plat.
The plat with
Yeah.
with those building setbacks.
With those building
that he
setbacks.
has requested.
And again, that would have really no bearing on this garage.
Right, but if it's denied, then his building is pretty much dead in the water.
I think technically these things are totally separate, right?
But
They
it
are,
wouldn't,
but I think it's right.
it wouldn't be
Denial of the
doable.
first one dooms the second.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I got you.
I'm suggesting we act on the building variance first, unless council has an opinion on that.
No,
Okay. So,
if you acted on the first one first, though, you would set the table for what the second one would be. It would actually be relatively moot.
yeah, okay. Well, I think we were both in agreement, God, you gotta have them both or neither, right?
Well, after hearing some conversation, you do not have to build right on the property line or the setback line.
Correct.
You have to be within those setbacks. So just because your setback is 30 feet from the street, doesn't mean you have to put it 30 feet, you could put it 40 foot back.
Correct.
Okay, so if we did vote on that and approved it with the 8 and 12 foot setbacks,
Let's say.
all that means is that he can build something within that 8 and 12 foot setback lines.
He's requesting
Whether
8
it's-
and 8, huh?
Pardon?
He's requesting 8 and 8.
Whatever it is, whatever it is, okay? But what he's saying is that, well, we're just telling him then is you can build something within those setbacks. Not necessarily this building, we're not telling him, but he could pick a building and would be within his rights to build something within that as long as it met our ordinances or a reasonable request for a variance or a reasonable variance to comply with that. So I would say, yes, we could approve that first one if we so choose, but nothing is being built yet. But he would have the space that he wants to put a building up. Then he has to come up now and convince this board and plan commission and that size building he wants is not injurious, to the welfare of the neighbors and the neighborhoods and what have you. So, by no means are we here to fight against you or keep you from doing something, especially putting up a beautiful building. But here again, we have responsibilities to the residents as well as you, in the town, to see that, we keep things in a nice, even keel.
And I think I get what you're saying, but if we allow setbacks to be varied from without any plan for a garage, then I'm not sure we can follow these findings of fact, because how was he able to prove to us that that was warranted by any hardship or anything peculiar with the property?
If you warrant the setbacks, though, he could build within those setbacks, but he would have to meet, if you don't approve the size that he's requesting, he would have to meet ordinance.
I understand that, but we have to have good reason why he needs those setbacks. He needs the setbacks right now because of this building he's requesting. So we're gonna give him setbacks, a variant on the setbacks for an imaginary building that we don't know what it is or sizing or anything. I don't think that's wise, but especially if we have to follow these findings of fact like we have to.
We've not talked about this recently, but the fact of the matter is, just because there's an application before you does not mean an approval is in the offing. Sometimes things just don't fit. Sometimes things just aren't located in the right place or set to a place where it's usable and suitable. We're going back to the uniqueness of the property type reminder. It's not an automatic rubber stamp, and it's not an automatic negotiation, and it's his burden, not yours. You're doing an awful lot of work for finding an approval process here, and you can if you want. You're quasi-judicial officers, but you don't have to. Burden's out here. We have a code, we have clear and concise use of it. It's been in place for 30 years. There are no surprises in it. You've got good and quality criteria in your codes, so.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dave. Well, I'd like to act on the first item actually then, after thinking this over. the developmental variance request to allow the petitioner to have a front yard setback of 8 feet off of 142nd Avenue and a rear yard setback of 8 feet. This will obviously be a board decision.
Now, are you going for a subdivision on this? If this becomes a one-lot subdivision, will that parcel 1 and parcel 2 imaginary property line go away?
Yes.
So,
This would be one lot.
so then that 8-foot backyard setback would then be a moot point, would it not?
I think you're 8 foot off of 142nd Avenue.
I get the 142nd Avenue.
And then you must be 8 feet off of Greenleaf Place as well, right?
No, it'll be 30 feet off of Greenleaf.
Well, what's the?
8 feet would be the
Oh,
other yellow line
Oh,
between
okay.
him and
All
the
right.
neighbor.
I'm
That
sorry.
would be
The south property.
south here.
All right.
Well,
I'm
okay.
envisioning being
Yeah.
the lot line between
Correct.
parcel 1 and parcel 2 here on the plat, so,
Right.
okay.
So nothing about the first side and the 2 8-foot setbacks has anything to do with the 10-foot or whatever the number is gonna be for our engineer in Greenleaf?
No.
0, okay.
I'm entertaining a motion on that request. Again, it's a board decision.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion.
All right,
I'd like to make a motion regarding the developmental variance that we allow the petitioner to have a front yard setback of 8 feet off 142nd Avenue and a rear yard setback of 8 feet rear yard. The findings of fact, to include everything spoken here this evening.
Okay, you wanna refer to the findings and address them?
I believe will not be injurious to public health, safety, and morals. The use and value of the adjacent property will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner, including what we've heard here tonight, as the site plan and engineering has to take care of that. The need for the variance for this item will not have the need for the variance does arise from a particular condition the property has. It's long and narrow, and there's not a lot of north and south. The applicant established for this particular item the need for strict application for the terms of the zoning because of the property being so narrow. I believe he does have a hardship. I don't think the approval has a substantial adverse effect on the comprehensive plan of the town with the findings of fact, as I said before.
okay, all right, thank you, Jerry. We have a motion by Jerry, do we have a second? Do we have a second? Last call for a second. All right. Motion dies for lack of a second. Do I have another motion? Anyone have a motion to make? Last call for a motion to make.
I propose a motion to pass this, to pass this garage.
Mr. Austin, where do we go from here?
Defer it to the next month's meeting. There's a lot more material to chew on here,
Okay.
and come back and revisit.
Okay, do we have to address this other request too?
I would, but I would do the same thing with that, given how they were presented, as the first item,
As far as what?
deferral.
Oh, just go straight to a deferral on that?
They are
being that
connected,
they're-
they are connected.
Okay.
But each land's being applicant, same stuff.
Okay.
Before we move to deferral, if we were to shrink the size of this and say we can make this at 32 by 40, would that suffice to help move this along? If we were to shrink this, I mean, we're already willing to,
We need all that information now, the numbers, all that stuff. If the roof's gonna move down, that's gonna change the cubic feet, I understand. But we need that information here. Like I said, we can't get into the design phase, because it'll be tomorrow before we know it.
All right. The second item, as legal counsel said, we should defer this item as well.
That's my recommendation.
So are you requesting a deferral until next month for both of these items, sir?
I am.
Okay. So you would like?
I'll make a motion that we accept a deferral for the 8-foot setback. I also would like to make a motion we defer at Mr. Starsvig's request of Avalon variance for the ultra-big garage.
Okay.
With findings of fact.
Motion by Jerry, do we have a second to defer?
Second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Jackson to defer both items until next month, including the findings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Capora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Kubido?
No. Motion carries 4-1. All right, we'll see you next month then.
Thank you.
Thanks. First item of new business is Freeman Developmental Variance, the owner petitioner being Daniel Freeman, 14702 Bryant Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana, property being in the vicinity of the same. The petitioner's request is to allow this developmental variance to build an addition with a 5-foot side yard setback consistent with the existing home. Mr. Austin?
Legal turn order, public hearing is conducted.
All right. Thank you, sir. Do we have a petitioner? Yes, please state your name and address to the record.
Yeah, Daniel Freeman, 14702 Bryant Street.
Okay. And your request, sir?
Yes, to get the 3-foot variance off to the side lot.
Ms. Murr?
Mr. Freeman would like to put an addition on the back of the home. The existing home is set 5 feet off of the side yard. He has also purchased and combined lots 107 and 108 to make a larger lot. But he's asking for a 5-foot side yard setback, which is consistent with the existing home. But our current ordinance is 8 feet.
Okay. Clarify that with the the lots. It was 107. He purchased what now?
He has 107 and 108, so he's, in our legacy lots, our older lots, were 50 feet wide. He has a 100 by 125 foot wide lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
Just to let you know, it's not we're not compacting, and he's wanting to stay within the existing building line of the home.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's obviously already combined. Okay. They're combined with the county, right? Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Overlay's a little funky on GIS, but the house is 5 feet from the property line. The proposed addition needs one it's put on is the need that's arising from this variance, because current ordinance is an 8-foot setback.
Okay. Board?
This proposed attached garage, I appreciate the full transparency. No way, shape, or form that garage is going to need a variance of any kind?
No.
Okay.
Just the addition with a 5-foot side yard setback.
Are you have property stakes? I mean, you're sure you're 5 foot off?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I have nothing else, Mr. President.
Okay.
This is South Shore, right? So we're South Shore?
Yes.
Yeah. The rest of the structure's 5 feet off.
He's holding the line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Issues.
John, Jeff, do you gentlemen have anything?
I don't see an issue with it.
Okay. Sir, can you,
Existing non-conforming.
okay, can you please have a quick seat?
Yeah.
And, I'm gonna ask for any remonstrators for or against this variance. It'll be quick, trust me. Anyone for or against this variance out there? Jill, do you have anything online?
I do not.
Okay, told you. Come back up, please. Alright.
Formality.
Yeah, it's procedural. Okay. This is a 10 by 18 addition.
Correct. Yeah, all we're doing is, all the bedrooms in the home are only 10 by 11 feet, not big enough for a master.
Okay,
So we're just making a master bedroom with a master bath.
okay. It's gonna be, on a crawl basement?
It's on a crawl.
On a crawl, okay. All right. Yeah, I don't personally have an issue with this, the setback's already at 5 feet. It's not gonna create any other setback issues, any lot coverage issues.
The neighbor to the, what would that be, the south? Is there a, how close is the closest structure with the south, this other neighbor?
I would say more than 25 feet.
I have no issues.
Now, you have anything to add, or any questions?
Like Jeff said, it's existing non-conforming, and he just wants to follow the same building line with the same 5-foot setback, so I don't really see a problem.
All right. Jill, you have anything else for us from the building department?
No, this is also reviewed by Sammy and Michelle in our building department.
It's all good, huh?
All good.
Okay. All right, so this will be a board decision. Do I have a motion out there?
I'll make a motion, Mr. President. We approve the developmental variance to allow petitioner to build an addition on his home, 10 by 18, with a 5-foot side yard setback, which is consistent with the existing home, with the findings of fact. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, and morals. It will affect the adjacent property in an adverse manner. The need does arise for a particular condition on the property, which is the reason he's here.
I'll second it.
Yeah, with findings of fact, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr.
I'll second it.
We got a triple, trice, what do you call it?
Right
Nine
back.
seconds?
Right, Jeff, want to do it? I'll pull it back.
I don't want to get in a fight here.
You can serve it.
All right, we've got a motion on the table from Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Bungie, to approve this developmental variance to allow the petitioner to build an addition with a 5-foot side yard setback consistent with the existing home, and to include the findings of fact. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Rekubido?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Go and get your permit.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Item number 2 of new business is People's Bank. This is a developmental variance. The owner is People's Bank, SB 9204 Columbia Avenue, Building B, Munster, Indiana 46321. The petitioner is Andaco Signs, 10625 State Road 10, Argos, Indiana 46301. The property being in the vicinity of 10205 133rd Avenue. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to have one monument sign with a digital message board of 75 square feet and a total of 4 on-premise signs. Mr. Austin?
Legal's in order.
Okay, thank you, sir. Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Tim Oldmeyer, Van Signs, 10625 State Road 10, Argus, Indiana. I live and work there, I think.
Okay. All right. And the request?
We're requesting, first of all, total square footage of the sign will be 75, That includes the message center, and that we're allowed 60 square feet, so we're asking for 15 square feet. We're asking for an electronic message center, and also we're asking for 2 extra additional directional signs, 2 inner signs. There's an entrance off 133rd and entrance off King, so we need a couple small 6 square foot directional signs. There will be a sign on the building, a single face sign on the front of the door. So we have a total of, I think it's 6 signs we're allowed.
6 signs?
Well, let's see, 2, 4, I'm not bringing that.
Okay. Yeah, you requested 4, that's fine.
Sorry, 4.
Yeah. I wanted to keep you honest. No.
I'm in high school.
All right, Jill, do you have anything from the building department?
No, exactly what he presented, you're allowed that 60 square foot sign, they're asking for 75. The sign they want to put on the building, meets our zoning, as far as size, the additional directional signage, of 6 feet each is, we'll put a total of 4 signs on the front.
And the total amount allowed normally per our ordinance of signs?
60 square feet and then, 32 square feet.
60 square feet for the monument sign
Correct.
and 32 square feet for?
For another sign on the front. Additional signage. You're allowed 2 signs.
So you're allowed 2 total signs on the property and he's requesting 4. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Or is it 5 signs? I'm confused. There's one, a big one, right?
There's the big one, and there's one on the front of the building, that's 16 square feet.
And
There's
4 little ones.
two little ones.
Oh, there's just 2 little
2
ones,
little
not
ones,
4?
yes. Not 4, there's just 2.
They're 2-sided.
It's double face.
Is that what that, okay,
Yeah,
it's
double
split.
face.
Okay, so I see it side A and B,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm counting 4.
Well, you counted 6 too, I'm the same way now.
Yeah. But I see A and B
Yeah,
sides.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because there's 2 entrances to the property.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, Jill, these digital message boards, where do they fall in our ordinance? Are they normally allowed, or is this something that's a variance request?
Variance request on digital message boards.
On all message boards? Okay,
All digital.
okay.
And the location of that approximately is where?
On the property?
On the property?
It'll be roughly centered on the building. Of course, we have to meet your setbacks, I believe it's 10 foot. Jill, is that correct? I don't
Yeah,
have that
it's right
memorized.
in this ballpark here.
Yeah.
You
So
can see where I have the mouse on the,
It's far enough away from King.
How far from the sidewalk is it?
over 35 feet.
From the south side,
Approximately
from the south side of
35
the
feet
sidewalk?
from the south side of the sidewalk. If you remember, Airport Heights has the larger setbacks before they're built, before the property lines even start.
For the future interstate?
Emergency
Jill, if I remember, right, this is the same
in
setback
Airport
as
Station.
Demont, right? Same setback as the.
Yeah, Demont State
Yeah.
Bank sign is over here,
Right, same setback.
but being a pylon sign versus a monument sign.
Yeah.
All right, you gentlemen have anything else for the petitioner right now?
I do.
Go ahead and
This,
fire.
This monument sign is a little different, and unfortunately, the street view or a architectural rendering is, not here, I'm assuming. How does this, you're eastbound, how is this going to affect the other businesses along there? Is
Well-
the Demont State Bank sign gonna be behind it?
It'll be
They're same distance off the road. We've
Same distance,
established
they'll
that.
be higher, Demont's higher than theirs, so this will actually be underneath. That's one of the reasons we did this, and there's quite a bit of distance between, there's the King Road
Yeah.
and then Demont,
Yeah.
and there's off King Road.
Yeah, I think having, the town look like, Las Vegas is not something I'm particularly warm and fuzzy about. But the ATM's open 24 hours.
It'll have a drive-up ATM in the back, I
Right,
believe, yes.
it's open 24 hours,
Yes.
so you got an entrance and an exit sign.
Yes.
So that can be on all night.
Yes.
This monument sign is gonna be right in front of the Summer Winds entrance, masonry work.
Summer Winds masonry works in the middle of the roadway, in the middle of King here.
Yeah,
The sign will be set off over here, so.
So it's not gonna block all of it, it's gonna block part of it.
Well, in the width of the lot, east to west there, Joe?
Shouldn't block any of it.
I mean, it's west, I'm sorry, Mike Schmala with People's Bank.
Okay.
It's gonna be west of, so it's gonna be essentially in the center of our lot. So west of the Summer Winds.
Yeah. And I guess if you're going to Summer Winds, you know where you're going anyway. Take a right,
Also,
take a
yeah,
right,
and now the
take a right at the
addition
light.
of the light there, right, exactly, the addition of the
Yeah,
light has
take a right at the
helped
light.
that out, so. yeah.
Well, I guess my other question is, since you're up here.
Sure.
What time is, everything but the exit, entrance exit sign, when is all this gonna be turned off?
So, we could work on that, but lighting will be, on a kind of a photo cell, right? So lighting on the property will be from a dusk to dawn type lighting, for
Yeah.
safety reasons of the bank. Signage, we can set where the sign could go off, probably set it to go off at 8 or 10 o'clock at night or something, so it's not on all night and bright all night. There's no reason to advertise at 2 in the morning that we have checking accounts.
Well,
right? So-
and again, we know where we're going, so, you know, you don't need, kinda like, if you know where you're going to get some pizza,
right,
you don't need a 40-foot sign
Sure.
on the road.
The message center does dim down automatically as the light dims at 60 degrees, it'll dim down 60 actually stages, so it's not as bright as night.
Right.
But, we can program it to turn off a lot, and I don't know if you have an ordinance, I don't think your ordinance calls for it, but I think the bank would be agreeable to, a lot of times we turn them off at midnight and start them up at 5 or 6 in the morning, it just depends on the, some towns require midnight to 6, that's what they require.
Well,
So it's just a programmable thing where the message center will just shut down automatically and start back in the morning. So,
yeah,
good morning, Cedar Lake.
I just noticed that seems to be the norm along there.
It's turning that way, and
Yeah,
and in
O'Reilly's,
years past, we
O'Reilly's is
did it.
very dark, the dollar store is very dark.
Yeah.
You know, the Dairy Queen is
Yeah.
lights out.
Sure.
I know it's a bank and there's some security issues, but
Yeah.
security's come a long way.
No, it is, and we're here to be a friendly neighbor, so, you know, we'll see what's fitting. And in fact, the town asked us to put more light poles in than we originally proposed, so I thought that was kind of interesting, coming from, I manage a branch at our Dyer location, and they wanted less lights, and here they wanted us to add 2 more light poles, so that was kind of interesting.
Well, that was based on what?
I
Because I haven't seen those engineers' comments.
Yeah, we've added 2 more light poles, so that added to the cost of our build. So we've done that, on the west side and I believe the north side of the building. But we could work on toning those lights down too if need be.
I really think that, you know, the lights on the outside of the building, you know, the wall packs being on is probably, certainly, has some nice aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll be down lights.
Sure.
But, a parking lot lit all night long and a message sign, whatnot, lit all night long, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, you have to have the parking lot lit for, ATM security, right? We have the ATM in the back of the building.
Point taken.
We're just making sure it's safe for our customers and your community as well, right?
Yeah.
So. Thank you, gentlemen.
Are any of these criteria written down somewhere? Is there a bullet listing of operational components?
No, I just brought it up now, we're making enough as we go.
Haven't seen any of
I'm
it.
getting used to that.
You don't want me to repeat anything,
Not so long ago, I was in another town on behalf of a bank, much like these gentlemen, and there was a schedule, there was a listing of when they're on, when they're off, how they scroll, how they don't, how they jump, how they don't.
Many towns do add.
I think the scrolling is.
You have an ordinance, I believe, Joe. Yeah.
An example, there's.
I believe you had an ordinance that has some, I believe a message has to stay on maybe for 8 seconds. Every town's different, so I don't have it memorized.
I think it's based on the federal traffic.
Yeah, it's scrolling left to right.
Yeah,
One of them is
no
forbidden.
scrolling left to right.
Yeah.
No.
Can't blink red.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing
Can't
blinks.
blink.
Yeah, we no longer even offer flash. It's called flash, and we don't.
Yeah, I think that's, like NTSB
Yeah,
stuff.
that's not our line of work there, but, okay, well, I appreciate that, gentlemen. Do you guys have anything else for these?
Yeah, why does the sign have to be 75 square feet instead of 60?
It just works out, as you just look at this drawing here, they have a brand-new logo, which lays out different than the other one. And this is a standard, there are several different standard sizes. This is a common size that they have at some other locations. And when they program, this is a nice size for this size of road. It's not too big. You can get your messages out there large enough to read, so you can safely read them. And so when the girl that programs these, she can program Cedar Lakes and maybe, I'm not sure, well, let's say Highland, they have the same size matrix. And so it's easier for her to put the messages out there, you know. Well, she'll put individual messages for Cedar Lake also. There's something going on for the town, but let's say they have a CD rate, then she doesn't have to change her frame. It's just easier for them. So we try to design these to fit. And so the size of this came out, and actually their other logo, old logo would have fit shorter in here, but this one's taller. This is a taller logo, so it bumped the sign up, so it just kind of put us above the 15 square feet total above that, so.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the screen, it's, if you could,
Well, it all adds up together, and so
Yeah, I know,
we
but-
can't change this logo, then we have to make it smaller, so we're trying to get a decent size. It's not, the ID portion is, the logo itself is only 50 inches, just a little over 4 foot, so that's not a huge sign, by 8 foot wide.
okay.
So, you know, it's 30, so.
All right. You gentlemen, mind having a quick seat?
Sure.
And, please, I'm gonna call for any remonstrators for or against this variance. Anyone here in attendance for or against this variance? Ms. Murray, anything online?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. The public portion is closed. Sir, can you please come back up? My personal opinion is I don't really have a problem with the additional signs that you guys have that are I think the entrance, it shows the traffic flow, exit and enter. I personally have an issue with a little bit the size and big time on the message board. And I know there's some message boards in town, but if we give these out to every business along 133rd Lakeshore Drive, I'd hate to see what it's going to look like in a few years. I agree with Jerry. I don't want to see it look like Las Vegas Strip either. And you know, we've got a small town feel, and that's our major corridor into the town. And I'd like to just see it done very tastefully.
I understand, and here's what's happened over the years. I've been doing this for 40 years, and as time has gone on, this is a community bank. People's a community bank, and they're advertising. 30 years ago, you advertised in the newspaper and maybe the local radio, which they still do a portion of that. But it's more important now to on-premise advertising because it's inexpensive in the long run. Not as many people are reading the newspaper or listening to local radio. So it's very important. That's why you see DeMont have one, and Tech Federal Credit Union have one. The high school has one. I think the library has one, and, you know, Lumberyard. And looking like Las Vegas, well, I haven't been to Las Vegas in a long time, but they're a lot bigger out there. I mean, this sounds big when you look at the picture, but it's really not big out there. And it's used for the bank products and also community events. And I'm older, and I'm not used to having these when I was young, but now they're the norm. A lot of businesses can afford them. They're LED now, so they don't use much power, and they're less money than the bulb units and less maintenance. So you're seeing more people use them because it's for a bang for your buck. It's very good advertising. And so the bank is able to put their products out there and also, once again, local messages. And so it's just a change of, you know, as time goes on, things change, and these message centers have come down in price over the years. 30 years ago, this sign would be 3 times what it is now because it'd be bulbs and a lot more expensive. So that's why you see more of them, and they are effective. But that's also why you see a lot of towns dictate, well, you can't flash it. You have to hold your message on for 8 seconds. You can't, you know, they don't want to look like Las Vegas either, but they understand that the local business needs a way to advertise to help the small business, out, and that's basically what Peoples wants to do.
Is the People's Bank portion of it, along with the small ones, are they all gonna be backlit?
Yes, that would be
Everything will
LED,
be,
yes.
okay.
Now, on the People's Bank sign, the only thing that lights is the People's Bank. The white does not light. This is what we call push-through copy. The white is all aluminum. We rot it out, then we just push through those letters, and they'll just have the blue on them. So at night, you'll only see, until midnight or when we turn off, you only see People's Bank. It's not a big white.
That thing has how text is, text right?
Yes, it is,
Mhm,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, so
Like that.
it's a crisp way to read it, and it's not so much light flying out all at once.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I appreciate it.
Have you done any signs this size for People's Bank anywhere else?
Highland has one like that.
Same size?
Highlands might be bigger, to tell you the truth.
Highland actually has
Well, the sign itself in
The sign
Highland is
itself
bigger.
is bigger. It's
The
got
sign
a big,
itself in Highland is
arch
bigger.
on top of it, yeah. So-
Yes.
And that's on, I'm assuming that's on 41?
No, that's on Ridge Road.
That's on Ridge?
Ridge Road,
Okay.
yes. Sherrville's is physically bigger, square footage wise, it's just longer and not as high. The sign itself is much bigger. It's on 30 though, so it has to be bigger. We don't need a huge, this is not, I'm a sign guy, of course, but this is not a huge sign. I mean, we're talking 4 by 8, basically.
Well, proportionally, it looks like the picture, the silhouette there is kind of proportional.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let's see. Yeah.
And you know, when you get something out in the real world out there,
Yeah.
it doesn't, like, you know, when you look at this in our shop, you might think, well, that's a big sign. When you get out in real life, it's not. The Mott's is a similar sign, you know, as far as square footage and so is text.
Yeah. And like Nick said, this is a sensitive piece of equipment.
Sure.
It's not like Lake Shore Drive where there's a little, what's the word? Cozy corner, as it was referred to by a petitioner. However, we do want to keep things
Well, and
somewhat classy and
I totally
subtle.
agree, and I think this is a classy sign, and I know how they'll run it will be classy. They aren't gonna have flashing, well, we don't even offer flashing on it, when they took it off the software. And like I said, I think we'll turn it off at midnight, if that's fine, we can shut it off at midnight and open it at 6 o'clock in the morning. So at nighttime, it'll be.
Is this sign going to have the same message on the east side of the sign?
Yes. Yeah.
To compare, like, so I know you mentioned Demont and Tech, is it the same footprint? I never really paid attention.
Texas
Or
is
just
pretty close.
larger?
I can't remember what Demont, I actually sold those both, but I can't remember what Demont's might be small, it's older. I don't know if it's smaller, it is not much smaller. Texas is very similar, the same size. And I think
Ours
the,
is actually larger.
is it larger? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a pylon sign.
Oh, it's up in the air, that's right, yeah.
It's up in the air.
Oh,
The sign
yeah.
space is 72 square feet, and the digital message board is 23 and a half.
So it's
Yeah,
almost
Demont is taller because it's on a pole.
Right.
You know,
And their square
and
footage
pole
is quite
there,
big.
too.
larger.
Yeah, 95 and a half.
Yeah.
So they're 95 and a half square feet in Demont, and this is 75, yeah.
Well, I guess ultimately you've been sitting here tonight and you've heard all these conversations about these findings of fact. You know, there is that hardship
Right.
that has to be established, and I understand what you mean about advertising.
And community banks, I mean, we're up against, you know, Chase and all the big banks, and they have the big television networks and all this, and this is a way.
Not in our town anymore.
Not anymore, Chase took off, yeah, that's right.
Well, we'll run them out of town.
That's why we're sweeping in.
But, you know, in general, that's what community banks are up against that. There's very few community banks left, in Indiana. So, one of the ways they can help promote their products is to have an electronic message center up front.
So, just out of curiosity, Joe, when it comes to community events, somebody here reaches out to these people with message signs, if there's something in particular that, and we ask them to run that on their sign?
We have before, or
Yeah.
the Chamber of Commerce has on our behalf.
Oh, okay, all right. How many people, how many businesses do that?
I couldn't give you an answer on that.
American Legion does. We contact and get a hold of for a number of different, events that we've had over the years. We would put in a letter form or a little press release and get it over to them, and they usually tend to be very accommodating.
Excellent. Excellent. I look forward to accommodating.
Jill, do you have anything else? I don't know, I stand where I stand on this. I'm not sure where you guys are gonna be on this. I could do without the digital message board. The size of it, I know it isn't that much larger, but I don't see why it has to be much larger. I mean, we're talking about, what is our speed limit there? 35?
30.
30, I go 35, sorry.
Not when the stoplight turns.
Oh, yeah. So,
When you
you
get
know.
stopped at the light, you'll have something to read.
Yeah, it's true. And I'll have people honking their horn behind me. So I have, if you guys are gonna make a motion, if there's an approval on this, if anything, me personally, if it's gonna have a digital message board, I think there's gotta be definitely, like Dave said, some guidelines that are set in stone.
Well, we have, our ordinances tell you what you can do.
Right.
On that digital sign, and I think not allowing them to have a digital sign would be a hardship for them to run their business. It's very advantageous that they have that digital sign and put out their interest rates or whatever. So I think it's a necessity, especially in this case, plus you got them all up and down the street. The church has one,
Well, two competitors have them, right? Two banks have them, we gotta compete with them just as well, right? So.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
What you said, your suggestion
Yeah.
was a turn it off at a certain time?
I understand, John, saying
Okay,
we've
yeah.
got some guidelines, sizing,
Yeah.
where it scrolls, but
Right.
like Dave said, there, you can go in above and beyond that,
Yeah.
right? And that's what
Yeah.
most towns do, I would assume.
Right.
Even the style of this, you guys have, actually a photo on here, but I think some of these are just simple word scrolling.
That's an artistic,
Yeah.
no, it has a capability, but
Yeah.
I mean, 99% of the time there'll be, or 9%, there'll be messages on there, CD rates or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just our designer, but she has a
Gotcha.
clip art, she puts it on there.
I think this is a little bigger, but it's certainly not as tall as the DeMont Bank sign. And I think that may be
And you
a
talked
good
about,
trade-off.
you talked about matrix size as far as being able to do the programming for the visual board.
Right.
If you did have to reduce it, scrunch it down in size, to keep that matrix comparable to the gal that's programming, how farther, how much smaller do you feel you'd have to get to be able to?
Well, they go by, it drops, see, they're mass produced, well, not mass produced, but they come in sizes, so you drop about 1'8" down, and then you drop, I believe it's 1'6" across. They come in sections is what they do, so it just throws it off. This is 33 square feet total in the message center, which, once again, is not huge. It's not even a 4x8 is what it is. And once again, we just try to keep them, and it's not a big deal for her, but it just makes it easier on them. And also, your messages kind of look the same, so when somebody sees them, that's why we're doing that.
I think what he's getting at, Jeff, is the modules that light up.
Right.
Each one is so big, so you're jumping in
So when you drop it,
12-inch increments.
Right.
12-inch or 18?
Well, it's,
They're all different.
it's like, actually, I think it's more like 16 per module is what they are, 16 squares, yeah.
But True Values don't have those, do they, Nick?
We do,
This one doesn't.
not in town.
Okay.
They're out there,
Yes.
they have been,
Yeah.
but we've never taken advantage of them.
Well, I have nothing else for any other questions for the petitioners. I just so you guys know, I've been on this board for 4 years now, and it hasn't been my doing to have those signs up. So when I speak on that I'm really not for these, don't think that there's bias here.
I understand,
Because that's my opinion on what I think the area should look like. So don't take any of that personally, but that's just my opinion on it.
I don't think it's, Jeff?
So that's just the dynamics of the citizens board.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else for the petitioner?
Just a motion.
Oh, sir.
All right, I'm entertaining a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion regarding the developmental variance, that we allow the petitioner to have one monument sign with digital message board for a total of 75 square feet and a total of four on-premise signs. With the findings of fact, and to include that the message sign and the People's Bank sign in this exhibit is turned off completely by 11 p.m. All the other lights on for ATM use.
Do you have a start time for that light then too? Okay, sign?
Probably 5 a.m. start up. They get all the traffic can see it then.
Okay.
I know the Dairy Queen's not open at 5, but.
Sometimes I want
Or
early
pops.
morning ice cream cone.
Okay. With the findings of fact.
Findings of fact, okay. Gentlemen, do you guys have any questions on the motion? No? Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Wilkening, do we have a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Bungie to approve this developmental variance, excuse me, allowing the petitioner to have one monument sign with a digital message board of 75 square feet and a total of 4 on-premise signs, with the condition that the monument and message sign be off by 11 p.m. and to turn back on no earlier than 5 a.m. Okay, Jerry?
Yes, sir.
And to include the findings of fact.
Hang on. You said the message sign, you meant the whole exhibit
The
here?
message and monument, yeah.
Okay, the total monument sign. Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
yes,
I wasn't listening, sorry.
That's okay. All right, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
No, motion carries 4-1. Thank you, guys. All right, item number 3 on the agenda for new business, Michael's developmental variance, owner petitioner, January and George Michaels, 13939 Huseman Street in Cedar Lake, Indiana. Property being in the vicinity of the same. The request is to allow the petitioner to have a 10-foot rear yard setback to enclose the existing 30-foot by 36-foot patio to be a Four Seasons room. Mr. Austin?
Legal's in order.
Thank you, sir. Petitioner? Can you please state your name and
January
address?
Michaels, 13939 Houston Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. And we pretty much said it all, except, and then there was one.
All right, Ms. Merck?
Ms. Michaels has a patio back here, it's shown on your survey, which is in your packet. She would like to enclose that into a Four Seasons room. She has, provided the measurements, came from the surveyor, of the 10 feet there on the south property line.
Which that 10 feet is also a easement, railroad easement, which the railroad is no longer there anymore.
Yeah, there's additionally the easement in between her property and properties across the easement, so she would be 10 feet from her property line.
Okay.
Our property line is the easement of where the railroad starts? Is that where the property line goes to?
The property line starts at the easement.
That wasn't a walking path easement at one time, was it? Was that actually the
Yes.
railroad easement, or was that a walking path?
It was a walking path
Considered.
set there by the railroad, so people could walk from north to the depot.
Yeah, because the Monon Depot used to be right down there.
Just,
So if I want to take a walk, I could just cut right through your property?
Yeah, you could.
well, that's not part of the property.
You may go.
Which brings me to my next question. The walking path that's shown here, that's not over the hill, that's up on top?
That's on top.
You don't need to be a goat to walk it. A human to walk that without any problems.
I know, they're looking at it, and to where the path used to be, it's on a hill. It goes straight down, there's no path there. It's part of the yard and it's a hill.
There's a set of stairs here also.
Yeah, the stairs used to go all the way to the street. When I purchased the property, we purchased it with a, statement in there.
There's a sliver that takes you to the lake.
We own an easement between the two houses on the property below, a 5-foot wide easement that goes to the lake, and we do have a dock on the lake. Where the stairs used to be, we had a, exception to our closing that did not get recorded. We were supposed to be granted the property to the street, but it never got recorded, so the next person that bought it, bought the other part of our property that went to the street, because it never got recorded.
So when you build this, you're gonna have to tear up your patio and put in?
No, the patio's staying there, that's gonna be the floor of it, it's gonna be a Four Seasons room. I actually have a swim spa because I'm handicapped, and I need the exercise. Well, I need it year-round, because I was to the point where I was using a
Yeah,
wheelchair
okay,
and walker.
that's fine, but I'm just saying, what kind of footing you're gonna have, won't you have to have?
Oh, they are gonna put, the builder has put the plans in, yeah, I'm gonna have a regular BP construction, they're gonna put the footing down in the ground for the whole base of the building around it, yes.
So all the pavers are coming out.
No,
No.
you said it's the
No.
floor.
Pavers is gonna be the floor.
They are gonna say, okay.
Our surround section, all the way around it, the pavers are already tore up where the sides are gonna be.
Is this like a framed wood walls, or is this gonna be like a greenhouse kind of thing?
No, it's gonna be framed, it's gonna be connected to the,
So when you say Four Seasons, it's basically just an addition to the house, right?
exactly.
Okay.
Something that could be used year-round.
Okay, gotcha. Now, Jill, if that easement wasn't there, okay, because you own on the other side of the easement up to the cul-de-sac court, right?
No,
Oh, she doesn't?
No, that's
Okay.
what it didn't get
No, if
recorded,
you look
was
at,
the part of the
in your
street.
packet there, I highlighted what she's requesting.
Yeah, I see that, but
And
that
her
parcel
rear-
is
No, that's
hers?
her rear yard, and the 5-foot easement she was describing is also shown there to get to the lake.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Okay, so there's a 10-foot easement running north to south, basically, and then, we're talking 10 foot off of that to this addition.
And I also bought the entire lot.
Correct, and she had bought parcel 2, so we don't need anything as far as lot.
Has
width
anyone,
goes.
has anyone tried vacating any of these easements, requested that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But this easement was put in place when they put that subdivision in. I mean, it was maintained as an easement.
Okay.
Can we get rid of it?
Well, I was just wondering, I mean, if it was mine, I'd get rid of it and I could get another 5 foot, but,
Well, there's,
That's a sticky question.
well, yeah, you have
There's a
a,
lot, there's a lot.
I call
There's a
that,
lot.
I call that, like, say kryptonite.
yeah, I mean, I try.
I was gonna say, how do you do it, because I would
Yeah.
sign up for that right
Well,
away, I mean.
I've been able to see a 1930s print, and that walking path is called the utility easement down this way, but a walking path farther north. That's neither here nor there for this.
Right. Just
Now, if the tree
information.
that's on that easement, if it falls, whose responsibility is it, mine?
Guys. Guys, if it falls up the hill or down the hill.
It's gonna fall down, but.
All right.
Please look at this request.
It all depends on where it lands.
Building department, as well as with your town manager.
Okay.
One of the things we were waiting on was Ms. Michaels to acquire parcels, see what she has. So we didn't need anything as far as lot width.
Okay. All righty. You guys got anything else for this woman?
You acquired parcel 2?
Yes, and I
No-
have
no-
the
no farther south?
documentation in the file, the
I can't get it to go any
documentation.
further. Well, I did go further south, 50 feet.
Okay, all right. No farther than that, though.
I can't go further to the lakeside though,
Yeah, well-
because of that easement.
Yeah.
Did you have something for us, Joe?
Just that the lots had been combined and the county records on GIS have not caught up with everything yet.
Okay.
But we do have the document in the file.
Okay. All right.
They aren't combined by plating, they're combined by key number.
By key number.
Consolidation.
Key number consolidation.
Okay. So
Okay.
It's not a plat of record. our lot of record is assessed about.
You have a copy of my new survey, how does it show in there? Does it show as 2 lots or 1 lot?
2 parcels.
Oh, okay.
With all these.
But what she wants to build is not going to be on parcel 2.
No,
But does the fact that she owns parcel 2, exempt her, I guess, from,
From getting lot width.
yeah, lot width or any lot coverage?
Lot
Just lot
coverage,
width.
we're fine, she's only at 16.9%.
Okay. Mr. Austin, with combining those lots, the keys, how easy is that for a property owner to separate those?
As easy as it was to consolidate them.
Okay, so how do
Go
we,
to the county building and they cut them, they carve them out.
so how do we, make sure that, protect the integrity of this variance with, making sure that if she needs that lot in order to avoid variances, that doesn't happen down the road? I'm just curious.
This goes to your legacy lot policy and procedures over time. If they come in and have a big improvement, a new addition or a new home or something like that, something like the Starcevich thing perhaps, where two undersized lots were needed to be combined, there'd be a platting exercise.
Okay.
And at least that'd be my recommendation under current ordinances. So I honestly wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. I'm glad I have that information going forward for a larger project like that where it would be probably wise to do that.
the reason I bought the lot, if you look at the survey, my house, I don't know how it got passed when they built it. I never realized it because there was no new surveys when they did the additions on the house. My house was actually on the property line. That's why I bought the lot next to it, because I don't know how it got passed then. Didn't make sense.
Yeah.
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 Good old Cedar Lake.
Monty
Huh?
B.
In
Sicker.
the old days.
All right. Ms. Michaels, can you have a quick,
Sure.
very quick sheet? And I'm gonna ask for any remonstrators for or against this variance. Anyone here for or against this variance? Jill, do you have anything online?
No, I have the town manager online, but,
Would he like to speak?
no, you. Rick, did you have anything? If you do, you need to unmute.
No, Joe, I don't have any comment. You and I had discussed this before with Jan, and, I'm fine. No questions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the public portion is closed. Ma'am, please come back up. Anything else from the building department, Jill?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. So the footprint of this structure is basically already there, and you just wanted to make it a real addition. Okay. Don't see a big deal with it. You guys have anything?
No, I'm good.
No, sir.
Any?
No large garage doors, no.
No, that should be
No.
very good.
No second story? No second story?
Yeah.
No,
No, no building behind the garage in the building, in the shed.
no.
I'll be able to clarify tune in now.
So for the depth of the lot, what should the backyard setback be? Because it looks like the house would almost already be in that setback, would it not? If it's, how deep? 239 feet, 240 feet?
239 on the north side.
Well, that's what I was figuring,
Had to,
I was
yeah.
figuring 240 on the north side.
We'll give it 56 to 58. It would vary at the 25%.
So she's actually already non-conforming.
Right. Yeah, the footprint of what you have there now will not expand with what you're proposing. The actual footprint where it's sitting, it's gonna be in that same footprint, right?
Right, it's gonna
Yeah.
be the exact same as the
And it's
patio.
single
is.
story.
But it's
It
going
might
from a
kick out a
patio,
little,
it's
right?
going from a patio to a structure.
Yeah, with your footings, your 2x4, you're doing 2x4 wall, 2x6 walls,
Mhm,
so 2x6?
yeah.
So this there's gonna be a footing there, Nick, that's gotta come around and close that.
Okay.
So maybe.
She would have to stay within the requested 10-foot rear yard setback if that's what you approved.
and
So
it's-
if she had to take out bricks or do
Yeah, if I had to
any of
take
that,
out,
she has
that's
to
not-
stay
Yeah,
within that,
because-
in that requirement.
Well, yeah, because what it says here, 10-foot rear yard setback to enclose the existing 30 by 36 patio. So she can't exceed that.
Right.
That's what it says here. You see this, Nick? She's got 2 sheds and a garage.
And nothing outside.
And nothing outside.
How did that happen?
And I'm renting them out because I'm not using them.
Uh-oh, might wanna get over the other guy.
Oh, boy. Now we got 2 businesses.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Alright.
Oh, boy.
The pontoon's going in the garage, though, right, George? Okay.
Four Seasons room, I heard him. It's going in this room, right?
Oh, no, it's not.
So we,
Anyway.
So that lot that's to the east of you, actually, question for Joe, is that even a buildable lot, that one between the road and the easement there?
Oh, no.
It's only 40 feet long.
No.
Yeah. I can't tell from here how deep it is, but I'm just wondering if anything would ever be built there and there would be any issues with these 2 structures being close to each other, but that lot's probably not buildable then.
No.
Not separately
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
I mean, anyone, if she would take these apart, anyone who'd want to build there has to,
He's talking about in front of me,
I'm talking about in front of her.
in front
where the
of.
road
Yeah.
is between the easement.
Yeah, between the easement and the road, cul-de-sac.
Definitely not
Yeah.
buildable.
For Lakeview Point?
Very
Yeah.
small.
Yep, that lot there. Okay.
Are you thinking you want to be the Michael's neighbor?
That's a nice spot. So can I use that path?
It was real nice before they built 3 houses in
Yeah.
front of me.
Yeah, you enjoyed it while it lasted, right?
Yeah, I did. I wasn't paying the lakefront taxes.
All right. Well, do you guys have anything else for the petitioner?
Nope. That walking path is a very, very contentious subject, so we're not gonna be, having any issues there, it doesn't look like, so.
Okay.
Yeah, there isn't people walking through it.
It's,
If you'd like to, you're welcome.
it's,
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the developmental variance to allow the petitioner to have a 10-foot rear yard setback to enclose the existing 30 by 36-foot patio to be a Four Seasons room per the finding of facts.
I'll second it. Findings of fact.
Okay. Motion by John, seconded by Jerry to approve this developmental variance to allow the petitioner to have a 10-foot rear yard setback to enclose the existing 30-foot by 36-foot patio to be a Four Seasons room per the findings of fact. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
No.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes. Motion carries 4-1. Thank you. Final item on the agenda is resolution number 2021-01, Board of Zoning Appeals Rules and Regulations. Jill?
So provided to you is a copy of the rules and regulations. This is an item we've been going back and forth and presented a copy to you a few months ago. This is the finalized version coming out of our updates to the zoning ordinance, going through Plan Commission and looking for any additional feedback or comment on the document. Additionally, included in there is the forms that we use. We updated them, we'll say modernized, including findings of facts form. The ultimate goal here is to have this in place and approved so we can start implementing it January 1.
Okay. you guys all have hands on this.
Yeah, I got a question on the secretary, number 4, under employees. The secretary, we don't have a secretary other than a recording secretary. Says shall certify and attest all official acts of the board. The recording secretary shall record and keep the minutes of the board. So who's this secretary?
Could be you.
Yeah.
No. You don't get people, John. They'll stay in the town hall here, you've got.
I'm not wearing a dress. Maybe I will.
Good.
What's the pay?
John, the new rules contemplate the Board of Zoning Appeals selecting an executive secretary from among the 5 of you. So you have a chair, a vice chair, and an executive secretary. In addition, then you have the recording secretary as well. The recording secretary may or may not be a member of the BZA. In our case, she is not. But the executive secretary would be one of the members, and that's who we're talking about here. That's on page 5, item 2 at the top of the new rule.
So this position isn't required, right? Because it's saying may?
Right, may, yes,
We've never
that's
had
correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
It's in the statute, however, and Rick's right, this is kind of a management, tool.
Okay.
And a blanket.
Couple things that I noted here, that was the first big one was the secretary. And I just want clarification on the wording on page number 8, Rick, which would be under Article 3. Number 9, where it shows conflicts of interest. And so basically the wording of this, I just wanted to make sure I'm clear, that I'm clear on my understanding. If a board member wants to remonstrate for or against an item, they could still do that, by removing themselves from the actual panel up here?
Well, I would answer that and also ask Dave to give his opinion as well, but the intent there is that if a member has a conflict, then they should remove themselves from the dais. They can sit in the audience, they should not participate in the discussion at all. That doesn't prohibit them from representing themselves on a variance request, similar to what Mr. Kuiper did a couple of years ago. But you can't participate in the vote if you have a conflict. So Dave, if you want to clarify that or comment on that?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what Indiana Code 3674-902 says, and it really tracks the statute pretty closely. Conflict of interest is identified, actually it's 906, not 902. And, you step down. Now, I've had a lot of Board of Zoning Appeal members ask me if they need to leave the dais. Actually, I've counseled that you don't necessarily need to leave the dais, you just don't participate actively. Because you're still a member of the board, notwithstanding the conflict that has arisen, either by having a proprietary and fiduciary or fiscal interest in the petition or proceeding before you, or for some other reason.
I was just confused at the wording, because the second paragraph in 9 says, "A person who has a conflict of interest shall leave the board table. Such member may join the audience, but may not give testimony on the matters before the board." Then the third paragraph says, "Nothing in this section shall prevent a member of the BZA from presenting a petition on his or her own behalf or request remonstration to a petition or application, but members shall not appear before the board on behalf of others." So,
Actually, Nick, I find it perhaps a little unsettling if a member has a conflict and it's declared a conflict for whatever reason, fiscal, personal, whatever. But they step off the dais, they step away from the appointment, from their position, that they don't have the right to be a citizen and go to our podium and on the record state and advocate their position that is in conflict, you know, I have.
You get to do one or the other.
Right.
Well, I want to preserve that, because I think as a property owner, that you should have that ability to, you know,
You know, we used to do it here quite a lot. When Mrs. Loudermilk was a member of our council, she would step off the dais frequently when property matters involving properties in the Meyer Manor subdivision occurred, and she promptly left and came out here and declared her conflict and made her public record, public proceeding position, because she was a citizen. She never did change. I mean, that stayed the same. You're always a citizen, right? If you're here and you're sitting on one of these boards and commissions. So, and I find that to be absolutely appropriate
to
allow it.
To allow it. But, so my question is it almost seems conflicting, these two paragraphs, so I want to make sure.
But may not give testimony.
So I want to make sure that's, me personally, I want to make sure that's still being allowed for any member of this board now or in the future to have that right as any citizen would have.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I have not had a chance to go through this in the detail that's needed before you act. And I agree with you, that everybody read 10,000 months ago.
Mr. Everly, this is new but old. Is there a version of this that shows the new additions or the corrections, like the zoning ordinance information you've gotten us?
I'll look back in my electronic file here tomorrow.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I know what you're talking about, because when I make the changes, I bold, highlight, and underline them. And in what you have in front of you, the only thing that appears in that kind of font is way back on page 14, yeah. The rest of it I had cleaned up because at one point in time, I thought we had agreed to most of this. So, yeah, I can go back and check my records and see what earlier versions had in them. But it sounds like what we want to do is eliminate that language there that restricts a member from stepping down off, disqualifying themselves essentially from the vote, but still being able to remonstrate against an issue. And I guess, Dave, where my confusion comes in is, this is when there's a conflict. So, should a board member still be able to remonstrate when they have a conflict with the petition?
Yes.
Okay.
But they can't do both.
You cannot do.
Well, I guess I don't see how you can advocate for it if you can't advocate for it if you have a conflict, but you can advocate against it if you have a conflict. It seems to me that you can't have it both ways. If you have a conflict, you have a conflict. You shouldn't be advocating for or against them.
If you're not voting, you're just a regular citizen then.
Right, but you're, okay, all right, got it, I understand, all right, so I can get rid of that language, and recirculate this once I get rid of that.
Rick, if there's a hypothetical, please share it.
No, nothing that comes to mind, Jerry, no.
And then, Rick, I had a question regarding the Article 5, number 2, notice requirements. It seems to be that we're putting the responsibility on the petitioner to do some of the work that staff has been doing as far as newspaper and mailings, or at least getting the list of addresses.
I'm glad you brought that up, Nick. That's one of the big changes in these rules and regs. It does put the onus on the petitioner to do those things, to take the responsibility of putting the notice in the newspaper, sending the notices out to the property owner, getting the property owner's list, all of that. That, in my opinion and in my experience, that has been the responsibility of the petitioner, not a staff level responsibility.
Okay, now, you have in here in number 5, that the petitioner has to bring in evidence at least 5 days prior to the hearing that he or she did follow through with this stuff. Now, wouldn't the staff have to do homework to basically get that list of properties and all this stuff anyway?
No, the petitioner would bring in, among the items the petitioner would bring in would be the list of property owners, the receipts. These are all the things that Dave reviews prior to each petitioner, each meeting, and when you call on Dave to let you know whether it's been legally noticed. These are the things that Dave is looking at, and those are things that right now the staff provides to Dave. This would be things that the petitioner would provide to staff, including the list, the proof of publication for the newspaper, and the proofs of mailing. And they have to be provided to us at least 5 business days I believe it's business days, Nick.
All right, I understand that, Rick, but who makes sure in the town of Cedar Lake that there's proper notice given to the parties that need to be given notice? Like, who makes sure that the adjoining property owners, all that would have to, they're legally supposed to be notified, are actually being notified? At what point is that checked?
If I could, Rick,
Okay.
I would.
You would?
Or whoever's handling that. And David, if you notice in the files, I've been having the petitioners bring me in the mailing slips, those white mailing slips, at least 5 days before the meeting, and it's been working out really good, where before they were bringing them into the meeting, and we were checking off on those. So, one of those things, those are stamped by the post office on the date they're mailed. So I check off on there that I have the mailing receipt, as well as the green cards if they are returned. Electronic mail has helped out tremendously because people can scan them and send them. But the list is certified by Lake County. The list they bring me is usually 2-3 pages, and one of them is certified. It has a seal on it from Lake County that these are the adjacent property owners.
And if they don't have all the proper information returned to you, they don't make it on the agenda.
Correct. Or there was one item we had a month or so ago that the mailings were not sent out timely, and I have not received anything back from him, and I asked you guys to not consider that item that evening because it hadn't been advertised properly.
So, Jill, Rick, you're good with not having a true definition of evidence? Or would it be better if there was a checklist that they brought this in and this in? I mean, I'm just thinking easy.
Well, I think if you go through with the variance application, which I included with your paper copy here are the forms, that application gives you the procedures of what they need to do to submit that request.
So there's no interpretation of evidence.
Is there, what's the reasoning behind putting this onus on the petitioner instead of staff?
Well, Rick, it just gets too, I guess in my opinion, first of all, I don't think staff should be responsible for doing this. This is something the petitioner is asking for, and it should be their responsibility to do. But we talked about this back in, several months ago, and maybe this was at the plan commission level, because I remember Jerry and I specifically having a conversation at a meeting where, I feel like it's the petitioner having some skin in the game. There's just, it's too easy for somebody to come forward and ask for these variances when they don't have any, I don't want to say anything to lose, but it's made awfully easy for them, and I think that it should be their responsibility. They're asking for the variance. I don't think it should fall to the staff to have to go get the list of property owners and send the mailings out and be responsible for all of that. And I can just tell you that in my 2 previous towns that I worked for, it was always the petitioner's responsibility at the planning commission level and at the Board of Zoning Appeals level.
I think, Rick, chime in anytime, but I think, Nick, the reason this is may have gone down this road kind of this way is because I've had people tell me BZA stuff. They said they would like to pay somebody at the town just to do this for them.
Yeah.
Because it's very complicated and very time consuming. The staff is very accommodating and ends up doing a lot of that anyway. And I think Rick's point is that the staff could be doing other things, and I don't disagree with it. If you don't want to go through the trouble, then you call somebody we see here on occasion.
I just want to make sure that the safeguards in place to where, you know, all this stuff is checked off and all the parties that need to be contacted are contacted, but the county makes sure of that.
We give them the criteria of which they have to draw that list from. So there is, we'll call it a form letter. You know, we give them the property owner's name, the petitioner's name, the tax ID number, the legal description that they pull that from, and what adjacent, adjoining, and across the street property owners that has to be. There's a copy in each one of those files over there of me requesting it from the auditor's office.
Okay.
So Jill, you think the way this is now, or will be just as bulletproof as it was before?
Yes. I think it's part of it, putting the onus on the property owners to go to Lake County and get that list, to take a picture of their property to show us what they want to do.
Now, with that said, the way it was once upon a time, we had other staff here who went out and did some of that. Are we gonna get in a situation where somebody brings a picture in, and we say that's not good?
We can check the pictures.
No, I'm just saying, are you gonna look through those pictures to make sure we're looking at something?
Oh, yeah.
Something
Yeah, I'm not
that's
just gonna
significant?
scan it in and give it to you and be like,
Well, I'm just trying to make sure that they're not at the podium, and we don't end up with 6 deferrals in 3 months.
So one of the things that I've done is some of our petitioners who work 8 to 5 can't get in here to get the list of property owners that they need to send mailings to. I scan it, I send it to them. They have the list, they have the letter, they send it out. They don't need to come in here, we don't need to spend 15 minutes talking about how to send out a certified mailing. I can refer them to the post office's website on how to do that. I'll help those people who need a little hand-holding on how to do it.
Yeah. But
Scan a copy of the receipt, send them in to me, show me you mail them, and we have it all in the file.
But you know where the line is,
Yes.
and Rick knows where the line is, not to become land developers,
Yes.
or get in up to here. Okay.
I think a little bit more is coming in on the front end then. When you're bringing in your application,
Yeah.
you're bringing me in the whole thing, that puts a timeline too. Similar, Lake County does this. You bring in your application, you come back in so many days to get your advertisement. It's your job to go down to the auditor's office and get that list of property owners. It's your job to get that over to the newspaper.
Okay.
And I'd like to point out one other thing. We are reducing the number of newspapers they have to advertise in from 2 to 1. And that's largely recognizing that, in all honesty, most people don't get their information from the legal notices in the newspapers. So we're just having them, these new rules, we just require them to publish the notice in 1 paper as opposed to 2.
But you also have the sign must be placed in the subject property.
Only if it's commercial or industrial.
Okay.
Petition.
Kind of goes down a little further.
One other question I had, Rick, was regarding Article 5, Number 1, applications. It said, the board shall set and hold a public hearing within 60 days following the receipt of a properly completed application. It's my understanding now that it's on a 30-day basis, right? I mean, if there's a deadline each month to be put on next month's agenda, is that how we're doing it now?
Well, yes, we tell them they have to have an application in, what is it, Jill, the first Friday of the month?
Correct.
Right.
I
But
think what
this language here, Nick, is out of the statute.
So,
60 days is,
So I'm just wondering, just playing hypothetical, if somebody put an application by the first Friday of November, are they guaranteed to get on November's agenda, or would they be on,
they would be on
or were they
December.
guaranteed to get on December's agenda, or is there an option to be putting them on January's agenda too?
There could be
Or
an option
instead.
to put them on January. There are some communities, if you look at, if they don't have enough business, they don't meet, but you have to hear a complete application within 60 days. And I think that's, as Rick just said, in statute, so.
It is not statute.
No, but this way, we can't just keep deferring them because they're the only business item. And you
I got
can't
you.
not hear their application for 90 days, 120 days.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because we've had some of these meetings where there's like 15 items on the agenda, and I just thought maybe we could use this as a tool to shorten up the meetings, and where people aren't here, till 11 o'clock at night, if you could say, okay, we're gonna roll the dice and put you on next month, hoping we're not gonna have 15 again, is that gonna be possible to do that with this, Rick, with this wording? I'm just.
well, Dave and I talked about that a while back when you had, 12, 13 petitions on the agenda, and I had asked Dave at the time, is there a way we can limit these things? And I think Dave and I both, I think I knew the answer before I asked him, but I think Dave and I agree that as long as they meet our deadlines for submittals, we can't limit the number of petitioners per meeting. Is that accurate, Dave?
Spot on.
So what does this 60-day thing have to do? Because based off the 60 days, they could be put on the following months, right?
Well, ultimately, you could set a schedule that's every 60 days instead of every 30.
Well, that's what's on the rules and regulations. I'm just wondering if that's different from what we're doing now.
The 60 days?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think so. I think when a completed application comes in here, it hits the agenda if everything's time to submit it.
But this is granting, this says the board shall set and hold a public hearing within 60 days following the receipt of a
It
properly.
doesn't say citizens within.
Right, so you
You
could
could
do it.
do 30 days, 45 days,
Right.
60.
I just wonder how
Within.
that differs from what we're doing now.
Okay, hang on. Does 60 mean after 60 days, we don't have to have it on the agenda then? Or the application's no good?
No.
No.
It means we've missed getting it on the
Okay.
agenda.
So somebody could chase something like this for a year?
Well, the idea is not to put a petitioner off indefinitely, Jerry. So if they file an application on the first Friday of November, we should be hearing them by the December meeting and not be able to put them off indefinitely. I think that's the intent of the language.
Okay, all right, but someone could do a little bit every month, and once it's done, then they could be on the agenda, which was my point. Somebody could spend 6 months getting this together. I mean, and then once it's complete,
You're gonna have some of that.
yeah. Well, it takes some time for some people to get some things done, that's why I'm bad. Someone refresh my memory, is there any concept plans in BZA, or the concepts come to you guys? For example, one of those things we heard tonight, if that would've came here as a concept,
No.
No.
there's
No,
no
not
concept of
No,
BZA.
You're a judicial body. You're an administrative,
Okay,
quasi-judicial adjudicative body. So we don't come in and get previews and any of that.
I'm just thinking that for some instances, when the staff has a feel for things, perhaps.
That's what they're on the agenda for department report.
And that's why
Okay.
I think that's the two of you are on the plan commission. So any of the site plans would come to the plan commission work session, and then
I'm talking about BZA items that
that
could
don't
be,
need plan
they
commission.
could be, way out there.
Problematic.
Yeah, problematic or way out there.
something we don't see very many of, not like message signs.
It's still the responsibility of staff to be gatekeeping on application quality and.
And I guess what I'm getting at, is it against any rules, laws, that if they get something they think is a little out there, they say, hey, why don't you bring it as a concept?
No. Again, the concept thing talks about, that's kind of a.
It'd be like me going in on a speeding ticket and saying, hey, I think I'm gonna present this. What do you think, Judge?
No,
I mean, that's how I read it.
What should happen is that staff should, upon receipt of application materials or inquiries, of that inquiry level, should be doing gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen this here before, and the consistent activity of the PTA is to deny this type of decision for these reasons. If you want to see the record, we're happy to provide it to you. So we don't have repetitive or continuous or progressive ongoing similarities.
And I know there's gonna be those people who are straightforward, this is what I want, that's it, there's no talking to them. But I just thought there was.
Your last petition tonight, we've been working on that one for over 3 months before it even came to you, making sure all those ducks were in a row.
Yeah, okay.
Dave, being that this is a legal matter, do you have any opinion on any of this that you can share with us?
I'm incredibly, deeply troubled by what part of this tonight. I've been here a long time, sat through a lot of public hearings at the BZA level, and I know that most of the people that come here to the BZA aren't the sophisticated business people, but there are our neighbors, there are co-citizens, they're normal folks, they don't do this. We're gaining experience in you, Ray, but everybody else has been here for a few years, 4 years, you told us tonight. So, you kind of acquire it as it goes, you become an expert, you become good, and they come here once. They come here, not really knowing what to do. Many folks, how many housewives have we seen whose husbands off to work, and the kids are at a babysitter's have shown up to talk about a fence in Lensway. And because it's a fence in Lensway, and we've done it 100 times, it kind of carries itself, but they don't have a clue. And we're gonna ask them to, under penalties for perjury, sign an application, go out and get the legal requirements right, and, I don't, as a taxpayer, I don't think that our staff should be not doing that work. We've added people, we've added, 2 additional staff in the last year.
Do you think they should be doing that work?
Yes, I think that we should be making this a place that folks can come to, and you can tell them no, you can certainly tell them no, but it's a people's court, and, it's hard.
I guess at what point, Dave, is the staff doing the land design? I'm missing this.
And you and I have had this discussion.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be doing the land plan, they should be accepting the application materials, perhaps with some guidance of, here's what will be looked for, pictures, plats.
Findings of fact.
Drawings, the things that are supplemental to the bald application that you look for, things that we look up on the screen that we, look in our laptops at during the course of a hearing and a proceeding. And,
there has to be a line, though, where helping and doing.
We shouldn't be doing, we should be helping.
Well, I think that's what I was asking Joe before.
Instead of me sending the legal ad to the newspaper, they are. It doesn't mean I'm not still helping them prepare it, but they're sending it to the newspaper and they're getting the bill for it instead of us billing it.
has developed over a long period of time in this community to being a, public service oriented approach to it.
Right, but if they're given step-by-step instructions,
That's your call.
I mean-
It's how you wanna do it or wanna see it done, not me.
It's my opinion, it's one of those things, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think everything's been working pretty smoothly. I just don't know if I wanna personally take that chance to, see it come off the rails a little bit.
Well, in my opinion, my position, I think it should be the responsibility of the petitioner to do the things we've explained tonight. They should be taking responsibility for putting the notice in the newspaper, sending the notices out. Jill does a great job helping them understand. Staff has been doing that for a long time, Michelle before her. But the petitioner, in my opinion, needs to have some responsibility in the proceedings and could be doing the thing.
I don't think the staff should be burdened with additional work when it comes to matters like this. I think if you're going for a passport, you gotta go get your own picture, you gotta bring in your own birth certificate, you gotta bring in, if you're in the service, bring in your DD-214. You know, they don't do that for you. You go to the post office, they take your money, you know, but they don't do anything for you. Same thing here. If I want to put up a shed in my backyard, it should be up to me to come to town hall, pick up the application and all the pertinent paperwork and instructions that go with it. You take that and you go step by step and gather that material, and once you have all that information, you bring it into the town hall. From what I heard Counselor say here a little while ago, he was looking at it at them committing perjury. I didn't follow that part. You
Right,
said-
application, verified petition, verified application with the notary. The notarized instrument,
Yeah, but who's committing perjury? The petitioner?
they could. Yeah.
So I'm not gonna
You don't
decide for
notar-
them.
You don't
They did it.
notarize it most of the time, it's staff member. I don't know.
So with this proposal, I know Jerry had mentioned photos, does that mean that we're now going on site, taking photos, submitting them to the building department to give to the BZA is gonna be on the petitioner now? Rick?
It would be in their best interest to do that. It makes their case more clear when they're providing photographic evidence, certainly. But if they choose not to, they choose not to. In many cases, Jill will go out and take pictures just for her own edification, so she can be properly prepared for the petition. But if somebody wants to come without photographs, they can do that, but it's in their best interest to provide photographic evidence, I believe.
I agree with you, Rick, that is in their best interest, but Jill can't go take pictures of some and not all. It's all, or would have to be all or none.
No.
Well, for example,
No.
one of the petitions we had was the fence in the rear yard in Lynn's Way. It was
Okay.
the young lady who was here, she was one of the last ones to get a fence put up. She took a picture from her upper story window, a picture I can't take, which gives you guys a completely different perspective than something I can take.
Right, so my
My picture would have been from Parrish or from the front of her house sneaking on her side yard. So some of that where they can do that, I mean,
yeah.
modernization has changed a couple things.
I'm just afraid that, our building department is supposed to be unbiased, and there's a value in you guys going out taking pictures. It's just human nature where a petitioner may omit photos that might be, have some,
Absolutely.
it might have some weigh on our decision, or take photos that are favorable to their position.
But if you're asking for the petition for a shed in the setbacks, they take a picture of it. We look at it, we can verify that picture, we can verify if anything else is out there. This is just putting a little bit more
So
on
if
them,
you don't- if you get-
completing the information that they're bringing to me in the beginning.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle, and verification's one of them, but
if you get a picture and you, how are you gonna verify that picture? You're gonna have to go out there and do it, right? So now they haven't met the criteria that they were supposed to turn into.
And then they may have to wait to get in front of you.
I just don't see a giant benefit to this if you guys are still gonna have to do all these other things anyway.
Well, I think the benefit is, one, as far as budget goes, the petitioner is going to get directly billed from the newspaper for the ad. Because right now, I send the ad to the newspaper, 2 newspapers. I send that. You have to approve the proof. Then I get the ad back. Then you get the ad after, the affidavit afterwards. Okay? All that's in your file, verifying that it was published. Then I have to do a bill to the petitioner. Then the clerk treasurer has to process, and that money, the way it flows through the budget, ties up general fund dollars because the reimbursement, while it comes into us, it's in arrears. So 9 times out of 10, we'll have that bill before we've even billed the petitioner, just because of timing and going around. So this is to free up funds in our general fund too. It's the petitioner gets the bill because years ago, the newspapers changed it where we couldn't send it to the newspaper and have them bill a petitioner. The petitioner had to send it to them.
And if the petitioner does all this work, it eliminates work on the staff's part, but they still may have to do some follow-up work and checking work and what have you. But the point here is that it will be less work and more free time for them to do other important things in the town office. So yeah, they're gonna have to still do some work.
Maybe we'll be able to shrink the staff,
Maybe what?
reduce the labor. You're right, maybe that's what comes of it.
It could be, you know, we gotta lay a couple, 3, 4 people off, maybe cut the board down to 3 people,
There you go, it's
you
possible.
know?
It's possible.
Very true, get rid of the old ones.
But yet you're still here.
Why did you really look at me when you said, oh?
I was looking at Jill, see what she says, she always.
I guess because
I
there's
think you
so
called
much.
me old.
I didn't.
I heard that, that's all I heard.
I agree with Nick about the you know, the lack of bias, because we've seen non-biased pictures. You know, every time there was a question of any kind, we saw pictures. Not one picture, several pictures. There was no really interpretation about what we saw. So petitioners taking pictures, the validity of the pictures, validating what you're getting and chasing them down. I'm wondering if we're really saving any time here. The mailings and stuff, I get that. And since, you know, we're not in charge of what happens here as far as who's doing what, and who has free time and who doesn't have free time, I think there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. I think those incidental things that anybody can do, perhaps they should be doing.
Giving you a piece of paper and telling you to take it to Lake County and get the adjacent property owner list
Yeah,
versus me going and getting that list.
yeah.
What's the difference? You go and get it or I go and get it? I'm in the office another half hour plus working on something else instead of driving to Lake County to pick up the list.
Oh, no, I agree.
And
I
that's
agree,
the type of stuff that I think is,
as long as their instructions are
exactly.
totally clear, I get it, but when it comes to those facts that show up on that screen, all those pictures that the other 2 folks used to go out and take of everything. I mean, one's holding tape measure, the other one's taking pictures. I agree with that piece of the puzzle. I don't think perhaps petitioners should be taking their own pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's just, there's.
Well, we're not telling them to take their own pictures, but she's saying it behooves them to take pictures for their own personal gratification.
Yeah.
And to be prepared for when they stand behind that box.
I totally.
Now, every one of us here, I'm not guilty of this, because I don't do it very often, will go out and look at the property. Now, you tell me you don't go look at every property.
Not every one of them.
99% of them.
Oh, no, that's not true.
And,
That's not true. Nick and I go out a lot and look,
Yeah.
and look at some of these things.
right, you know, so I mean,
But those are the ones that, when we look at it, John, we know what's, needs to be looked at extra special.
okay.
Well, do you guys, I know everybody wants to act on this, because it's been something that's been punted every month, but do you guys wanna defer this and chew on this?
I'll make a motion, we defer this item.
Okay. Until, November?
Yes.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I don't like to make a motion that we have a report from legal on this, item in its entirety.
I'll send you a marked up copy.
Okay. So we've got a motion, Mr. Bungie, to defer this until November meeting, and, a review from legal counsel on these rules and regulations. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Capora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Riccobedo?
Yes, motion carries 5-0.
And Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
you know, I didn't make that motion because I'm in a hurry to go home or anything, but, there are just so many pieces of this that we know are critical, key pieces. I think it needs to be reviewed a little bit.
Yeah, we got a lot of information from this discussion that we didn't have before.
And I know the staff, people come in, staff.
Jill,
bring
can you give us a copy of the list you give them, the checkoff list you give to the petitioners? Do you have that?
They don't, no, not yet, because I need this approved to create the list.
Okay.
But I can create one for you. if
Yeah,
you'd like.
create one, kind of give us a guideline so we can see, yeah, okay, we're arguing about this, and it's on the list, and they should be able to go forward from looking at this, you know, to do it, we don't have to talk about that. So maybe if you could do that, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
John, you talking like a procedure list, like kind
Yeah,
of step by step?
Right. Like, you got,
So long
like,
as that's already in your application, which is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the
forms that's in your packet.
application's here.
Right.
There's a lot of information in here, John.
I haven't looked at that part.
Yeah, variance application. Well, this is the first page that we see all the time on here, so.
Okay.
All right.
And you don't need, the rest of it is, the other pages do not really include in your packet.
Any update items from you gentlemen? Any? Ooh, what does that mean?
Are we, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Or things that need to be update items? You have a couple outstanding, circumstances.
Yeah, I think, Rick, are you still there?
Yep,
Yeah, next month you're gonna get us, a list of the reviews on variances granted since 2018.
yes, it's gonna be in your hands at least a week ahead of the meeting, Nick.
Okay. And now, is that gonna be all variances, or just special uses? What is that gonna be on?
It's everything from January 1 of 18 through the present. Including anything that, like there was a couple of things that people never did. The one particularly that comes to mind is on 41, they were gonna do a haunted, Halloween, I think. They never did that. But a couple of them they never did. But it's just gonna be a report on each of the variances granted and whether they're compliant or not compliant, if they've been fined, just what the, status is on each of them. 18 and 19 are done and into, 20. Like March or April of 20 is done now, so I have to finish up 20 and get it current through, 21. But that'll be in your hands at least a week before the next meeting.
Okay.
And if I could, Nick, one of the things I wanted to mention to you about the rules, the rules and regs still have, just so you know, still have language in them regarding special exceptions. I know at the plan commission level, we were, in revising the zoning ordinance, we were planning to take special exceptions out of our vocabulary and not consider them anymore. But until we do, I've left them in the rules and regulations that you have in front of you. So just so you know, that's why they're still there, because we haven't revised the zoning ordinance yet, and they are, right now, a person is still able to seek a special exception.
Okay, good. So the only changes being made would be in this packet that we were presented today with the rules and regulations.
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you, Rick.
Rick, refresh my memory, the special use was going to be gone altogether
Yes.
because them being here makes it a special use?
No special exemption, I thought.
Special
Well,
exemption.
the statute uses special use and special exception, I guess, there are different words for the same actions, in the statute, but we had a discussion at the plan commission level that we thought, eliminating the special exceptions or special uses, was the right way to go.
Well, again, refresh my memory, what was going to be used then?
Well, use variance, sorry, Jerry, use variance.
Just a use variance, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Right, sorry.
Which is gonna be synonymous, so, okay.
Well, I thought the goal was that anything was under a special exception was going to be allowed without BZA approval.
No.
That wasn't what was proposed?
Special exception is a permitted use in a zoning district classification, provided that that use conforms to and complies with the regulations for that zoning district. It's just a category that's carved out that requires a public hearing to the BCA under the statute, to the BCA, and a recommendation to the town council. There's case law on this, and I came in really, really hard with the plan commission about my opinion on this. We would need to create, to make it effective and make it work, a series of criteria for each type of use in order to establish the objective criteria for a special use to be permitted as of right. And then there's still the process of the public hearing and the recommendation to the town council or legislative body. Variance of use just cuts to the chase. You know coming in what you gotta do. You gotta make the application for the use variance, and you come to the BZA knowing that, the criteria already established, the findings that we refer to each time, and a recommendation to the council.
Thank you, Dave.
Aren't the findings, the findings are everything that's spoken in this room, correct?
Not unless you specifically require it. I'm sorry, Jerry, and for your plan commission, you and John specifically, you'll note that in several of the proceedings before the plan commission, the PUDs, that I've recommended the minutes of the meeting be appended and the conditions therein, or language to that effect, be included, incorporated as part of the approval. In some instances, that would be appropriate here.
Well, that was my next question.
And if you remember, we also talked about some certifications. I know staff just caught up to the BZA meeting minutes from April to the present, or May, I don't know. I just got, Jill just sent me some last week. Those are important for creating or confirming the accuracy of the certification. Certification's the document from you to the town council.
So a motion at the BZA to be thorough needs to include the minutes from this meeting, which means whatever the petitioner said they were going to do and not do?
Exactly. Now, you will know that I sit over here a lot of times and don't open my mouth about that, because some stuff's just starting right.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, most of what you do, most of what our citizens bring us is normal stuff. Not, we don't have, like, Star Switch. Now, Star Switch, you haven't gotten there yet. And the findings for Star Switch will probably have a bit more intensity to it because of the 8 or, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meat in that one. So, it'll have a different item, or a different, certification, activity. But,
Well, and for that as an example,
not trying to make brain surgery out of everything that comes to you.
yeah, but for that as an example, if a motion's made, and he said everything's going in that building, and he's got stuff sitting outside the building, now he didn't comply.
That's fact, and
Okay.
you know why I asked,
Mm-hmm.
specifically for enforcement and drafting purposes, it's for both. So we know.
He's putting his piers away, his lifts away, all that stuff is on inside, which,
We know that.
that's interesting.
That's not a problem.
So how does that affect, our recording secretary and how thorough these minutes need to be? If we have to fall back on something for enforcement, obviously we know these minutes don't have every word spoken.
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't have every word spoken. There are times when petitions have different degrees of difficulty, or different degrees of complexity, or different degrees of sophistication, and at the second it happens, you prepare for these things, you come with your agenda over, we know what we're facing when we come in here. That petition, the Star Switch one specifically, we're talking about that, should have a very detailed recitation of what occurred here by way of the minute transcription.
I find that what Margaret was doing, what Ashley was doing, when I read those minutes, that's pretty thorough on what, as I remember, things happening, whether it be at the BZA or the Plan Commission. Now, I know she dresses my words up a lot,
That's why it takes so long.
I think she's doing a great job, and so is Margaret,
She smells them better than you speak them?
Yeah, exactly.
We're not trying to create war and peace, meeting minutes are meeting minutes, and they're to help, recollect, but again, degree of difficulty, if it's,
Yeah, and unfortunately, we don't have at BZA what we have Planning Commission work session, which turns into
prolonged.
anarchy. We've got guys in the back talking, we got my buddies that are right over there talking, and it gets a little, it gets a little crazy for the person taking minutes. Then when they go back and listen to them, I don't even know how you do it. I don't even know how you do it.
Yeah, it's not a verbatim exercise, so, but to the point.
Okay.
Good question. You guys got any other update items? Probably.
There was an email flying around regarding an old approval down the street here in Morse. Is that being followed up on by the staff or anything?
Oh, the paving issue?
Top parking lot not being owned by the same people anymore, and it was part of the approval and all that stuff. Is that kind of, and then let's not forget the other place up the street here. I was just wondering where we're at with that.
Oh, lumberyard?
No, Melody Hill Green.
Oh, no.
Actually, I've had communication on the marina from someone who is looking at putting some plans together for this.
Oh, good, thank you.
And checking on the zoning, so they're preliminary, but I have had communication.
Okay. So they seem to be moving at a pace that,
As paid.
yeah, well, fall's here, so now nobody's in a hurry. Maybe
There's
they need to be in a hurry so it's done by the springtime.
There's
Or-
been communication to see
Okay.
what's allowed.
Well, it doesn't matter what's allowed, it hadn't been, we know what had happened there for 30 years. So,
Well, I'm sure nobody's understood it.
yeah, I'm trying to be nice about this, Jeff. This has gone on too long. So what about the other place down south?
The other one, I think, Rick has reached out to that property owner, and I would anticipate that'll be on your update
Right.
next month.
As
And
long
if
as
not,
as long as they're marching
I will
forward.
make sure we have it.
I'm just making sure we're all marching forward, that's all.
Mhm.
Anything else you wanna march forward with here?
No, I think in the door is gonna be okay.
All right, and then here, any public comment? Jill, you have anything?
No.
All right. Our next month's meeting will be on, a Wednesday, right?
Correct.
Wednesday, November 10th, to observe
Wednesday.
Veterans Day,
Wednesday.
which is on the 11th.
Oh.
Correct.
And,
Veterans bringing snacks?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll bring a snack,
Serve
what do
your
you want? Will you honor me?
I circled it. Wednesday the 11th?
The 10th.
For 10th?
The 10th, yeah.
Thursday the 10th, it was advertised at the beginning of the year that way, because we're closed on Thursday the 11th.
Oh, I don't have to work on Thursday?
No, you don't, you can go home.
Another holiday.
Don't wear my
In
hat.
November. I guess there's a chance,
Veterans
right,
Day,
Jen?
then he
Check with
then
your
he's
wife
golfing.
about that one.
Man, oh man.
Pardon me?
Check with your wife about that one first.
Not her hat, it's my hat, she wasn't in the range.
Okay, you know who wears the hat.
All right, happy Halloween, you guys, practice safe trick or treating, and, this meeting's adjourned at 9:45 PM.